So today, I'm going to be talking on a tragic thing that happened this morning. The legendary Super Smash Bros. Melee player, Hax Money, has tragically passed away.
Hax in the Melee community passed away today.
Hax Money passed away. There's a lot of dark things surrounding the lead up to this.
Yeah, just RIP to Hax.
This run is for Hax Money. Yeah, rest in peace, Hax Money. In all seriousness, that's very sad that he passed away.
This video is about Hax, my friend who passed away.
We were made aware of his hospitalization 24 hours prior to his passing, thanks to the efforts of his mom.
Yet I only knew him for 3 months, and I feel like I've lost a good friend.
He defended me, and I should have been braver for him.
The way that Hax's ban and now his death are being treated is a fucking joke.
For you guys to put somebody in this box, ruin their reputation, ruin their livelihood, and then this person who clearly needs this game, you drove him to kill himself.
And you say, where are the bad guys? That we bully people to death. That was not I. It was not I that kept Hax from playing Super Smash Bros. Melee with his handicapped accessible device. It was not I that gaslit him and celebrated him being banned from the Melee tournaments. It was you, Leffen. It was you, Leffen.
Welcome back, Hax. Welcome back. New York City is on the map. Whoa. New York City is on the map!
Well, we did it, everyone. Leffen is finally safe. And we couldn't have done it without the hard-working volunteers that keep the Smash community running like a well-oiled Diddy party. Now, before you start furiously typing away in the comments section, yes, this video is monetized, and despite how much I love grifting, the money is instead going to someone who really needs it. Mewtwo King. Hold on, I could explain. I asked Hax's mom ahead of time where I could wire the money for this video because I figured the GoFundMe would be closed by the time I uploaded, and she told me to just send it to him. So I guess that's what we're doing. If you do want to support Hax's mom, there is some nice memorial merch that she dropped. It looks actually pretty good. I copped a hat and shirt myself. And congratulations to Jason for robbing a hardworking African American. I'm just joking. /J. But seriously, Mewtwo King being the GOAT of Smash, it really meant a lot for him to stand up for Hax when a lot of people just wanted to remain quiet. So I will forever respect Jason for that. Thank you so much.
Nobody else is speaking up, and it's like, if I don't, then his life is screwed. And I think this is wrong, so I want to speak up. I'm just doing it because I thought it was the right thing to do, and I want to help my friend, you know?
Go show him some love and support, too. Now that we got the jokes and the shilling out of the way, let's talk about why you're all really here. Unfortunately, I'm making this video because Abdul Aziz Hax Money Al-Yami, a Melee legend and entrepreneur behind the box, passed away on March 25th, 2025 due to medical complications following his attempt from August where he jumped in front of a subway and had to get his leg amputated.
This thing works really good.
And that's just your chest socket.
I was worried.
That's just your chest, Aziz.
I was worried.
Oh, you look good, Aziz. You don't even look like you have a prosthetic on.
Oh my goodness, it works. I can't believe it. This kind of feels like a real leg. Now this is like very mildly painful. Do you think it'll get better?
This series of events is fairly multifaceted, and I will be getting into the details later, but it stemmed primarily from his deteriorating mental health attributed to his prolonged and mishandled ban from competing in Melee, a community where he built his life, business, and identity for the past 2 decades.
20% of Hax's life was just playing Melee. 20%. Mind you, sleep makes the 30%. So between sleeping and Melee was half this man's life. And you know shitting on the toilet is about 10%.
But personally, I believe a mixture of alcohol, depression, harassment, and isolation is ultimately what led us to where we are now. Most of you might remember the video I made 10 months ago titled The Victims of Leffen, which I made for the express purpose of helping Hax get unbanned by showing people his perspective on Leffen after he nuked his own credibility with his original 2.5-hour video essay titled Evidence.zip 2 that caused his initial ban from competition in 2021.
There's a quote that goes, "The greater the crime perpetrated by the leadership, the less likely the people will ever believe their leader's capable of perpetrating such an event." That is, unfortunately, a Hitler quote, but it's one that's very applicable to the current situation.
If you were able to look past the comparisons to Hitler, he actually made decent arguments that ended up being overshadowed by constant mentions of totalitarian dictatorships and Machiavellianism. However, that was 4 years ago. Over the past 4 years, Hacks made consistent progress as far as condemning those original comparisons, apologized to Leffen and the community non-stop, and disavowed any harassment he potentially incited.
I'm making this video to apologize to those who were harmed by the reckless release of a controversial video that I posted on June 4th of last year.
Just an irresponsible outburst with no bad intentions, 10 hours of fully edited video content, collaborating with others, calling me Hitler and evil incarnate, doubling down over and over for months, and then literally never even apologizing to me for any of it. I've been scared to go to every single Smash event since.
How's it going, Melee community? I'd like to sincerely apologize for the way in which I recently took a personal feud, overblew it, and basically turned it into the entire community's problem. So far, in fact, that I need to extend an apology to Leffen for some of the things that I said about him along the way, as they were uncalled for. How's it going, everyone? It's Hacks. I must sincerely apologize to Leffen and also Jisoo. What's going on, everyone? It's Hacks. First one that I want to address is my controversy with Leffen from a couple of years ago. I just want him to know that I'm truly sorry for all of that. Despite our differences, I respect him a lot as a competitor, and I'm sorry for ever projecting that type of negativity onto his name. I'm sorry for the hyperbole and paranoia that I exhibited on the original video. I confess that this was unnecessary. While the metagame revision was triggering, it wasn't the end of the world as I made it out to be. I apologize to Leffen and the community for projecting that narrative. I'd also like to sincerely apologize to Leffen, who I've wronged very extensively throughout this process, despite the fact that I've gone well out of my way to try to never admit to that. Leffen, I'm sorry to you for the pain and suffering that I've brought to you over the course of these past few years. As I've confided in you before, I'm not in the best of health. I hope that despite everything that's happened, we can make amends, put this in the past, and make an agreement to do what's best for the game. I will leave that up to you. I'd like to extend the olive branch by letting him know that this feud for me is in the past. I want better things for both of us going forward, and I'm sorry for the troubles that I caused him and the community as well.
And yet his ban persisted, despite everyone claiming to want to give him a second chance and agreeing that he was not a danger to anyone. The most consistent argument cited for this was that he had an unhealthy relationship with Melee and they were banning him for his own mental health. Now, I'm not a licensed therapist, but just based on results, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they did a pretty fucking terrible job. I already talked about this previously, so if you know about the ban situation, you can skip to this timestamp. But to save you new people who just learned about this from bouncing around a million videos, I'll reiterate exactly why the whole thing makes no sense before I jump into the new information. And let me tell you, you might not want to skip because there's going to be some new info in here. You're going to feel real stupid if you miss out on that. Who knows, you might miss something if you hit that timestamp. I'm warning you now. This video is going to serve as the complete chronicling of Hacks' case and a critical look into the failings of the Smash community as a whole. Didn't realize I was flashbanging you guys. Also, just warning you guys ahead of time, I will be leaking shit, so make sure to raise your hand when I call your name. Hi! Good. First off, there's a common misconception that Hacks' decline was solely because he got banned from a video game, and he was just a man-child who needed to grow up. While I definitely can see the valid argument there, there's places where that would make sense. If you were to take any hobby or extracurricular activity, like sports, games, arts and crafts, thrifting, if you take any of that and turn it into your livelihood, at what point does it cease being a surface-level activity and instead becomes an integral part of your life? For instance, if you forcibly took basketball away from LeBron James, is he mentally ill for wanting to play again? Is Leonardo da Vinci a schizophrenic if when you lock up his paintbrushes, he begs for them back? Is Beethoven just a crazy homeless guy if you blind him in both eyes so he can't hear or see music? Of course you could dumb all these down to, it's just a ball and a hoop. It's just colors on a canvas, or sounds in a room. But there's clearly something missing from that interpretation. These people wouldn't have done what they did, nor achieved nearly as great acclaim as they did, if it weren't for the passion to turn something mundane into a timeless tribute to their craft. My point isn't that Hacks was the LeBron James of Melee, because I know your dumbass was already drafting the tweet. My point is that Melee wasn't just a game to him. The earliest recorded event he attended was in 2006.
I first met this dude back at Pound 3. He was teaming with J-Man, and they were going by the tags of like the Little Rascals. And I just remember they were just like destroying some of like the OGs like Chew Dat and Chillin' Dude.
That would mean that he was playing Melee since he was 12 years old. Most of his friends, income, and identity all came from the same place, because that was his lifestyle. It was the only thing he knew from adolescence to adulthood, 12 to 30. He even got surgery on his hands just to keep competing at a top level, and when that didn't work, he invented a new controller and a company that would help countless others overcome the same obstacles. You can say it's stupid to dedicate your life to a game, but I can guarantee that 99% of you will never have an impact on a community like Hacks did. If you don't understand how it could possibly feel to lose your passion in life and then have it dangled in front of you while they mock your desperation, then I honestly don't know how else to convey the tragedy of this situation. But my goal is that hopefully by the end of this video, I can change a few minds. Hacks' initial ban for the extreme arguments against Leffen made in his June 2021 Evidence.zip 2 video lasted way longer than anyone agrees was necessary.
I still think they're wrong altogether, because in my head, if I was doing the ban powers, A, take the video down, you're good. That's all it should have been. Hey bro, that's a wild fucking video. Don't call Leffen Hitler, take the video down, you're good. Okay, cool.
The biggest issue that the Teals had is that the initial ban was handled about as poorly as it physically could have been. Like, you do need to own up to the fact that, like, yeah, we really fucked up there.
We don't have structure in the scene. And what happens is the toothpaste gets out of the tube and it's like, oh, this guy's banned. Okay, for how long? Oh, we'll figure it out. But there's no governing body to figure it out. No TO wants to unban him first, right? 'Cause that's gonna get you in trouble. I see these situations happen and it makes it painfully real that, like, I don't think Smash can govern itself.
I mean, I think no matter what, I don't think Hack should have been lifetime banned, and I think most people agree with that.
He was banned indefinitely, meaning that there was no definition. They didn't discuss any duration or potential appeal process for over 2 years. In their ban statement, their major concerns were the totalitarian regime comparisons, the length of the coverage, and they specifically defended Leffen by saying that he did not speak out for personal gain against Zero after grooming allegations emerged, and that Hacks speculating whether Leffen preferred if Zero were dead constituted harassment and defamation of character to a point where they did not feel comfortable allowing him at events. Obviously, the first 2 points have merit, and I think that's the main reason why most people, including myself, thought that maybe a small ban, or even just telling him to take down the videos, would have been sufficient. But it's the second half where things start to get weird. Let's get some facts straight. Leffen did not start speaking out against Zero after the grooming allegations. It was before. In fact, in an additional write-up from one of the organizers who made this statement, Mikey, the cheat, had to correct himself after wrongly alleging that Leffen and Jisoo didn't convene before posting their statements that were entirely unrelated to the allegations being referenced here. Also, just given the recent fact that Leffen doesn't give a shit about Hacks actually dying,
dude, if I say something, they'll be mad. If I don't say something, they'll be mad. I'd rather just not talk about it if I can't. Like, I'd rather not play the game if I can't win. I think there's anything I can ever do that will make these people happy.
In hindsight, it makes this other claim seem all the more plausible, but that's still ignoring the other problem with Mikey's statement, where he needed an entire paragraph just to address how uncharitable his write-up was. For example, he left in a comparison of Hacks supporters to QAnon followers that believe in the harvesting of adrenochrome from children. That's a far cry from a totalitarian regime, I'll tell you what. Mikey and the organizers behind this decision unnecessarily went out of their way to defend Leffen lying, while pretending to care about defamation and citing legal cases they are unqualified to handle, then flat out refused to ever relitigate this decision in any meaningful capacity.
Let's talk about the trolley problem. You've probably heard of something like this before. There's a trolley that's speeding down its tracks out of control, and there are 5 people tied to the tracks directly in front of it. You're standing at a lever, and if you pull the lever, it will switch the trolley onto another track that only has 1 person tied to it. The choice is between doing nothing and letting 5 people die in the process, but not being directly responsible for those deaths, or pulling the lever and killing 1 person, but you killed that 1 person.
Whoa, man. This aged like shit.
I think of myself as a consequentialist or a utilitarian. The most important thing to consider when analyzing our actions is the effect that they have. Minimizing harm and maximizing happiness is what we should be aiming for. And this is the lens through which I view things like community misconduct, which is an issue that's important to me as a Super Smash Bros. Tournament organizer.
Hey Mikey, as a consequentialist, do you feel like you maximized happiness and minimized harm? Let's get a poll going in the comments. 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you think Mikey needs to shave.
In March of 2021, Zero attempted suicide. It's clear, again, that the psychological effects of losing one's community, of losing one's support system, being ostracized, being publicly shamed, can have devastating effects on someone.
Everyone go ahead and give a big round of applause to Mikey for pulling the lever. As we now know, Hax was indefinitely banned on June 24th, 2021. It wouldn't be until September 19th, 2022 that specifically NYC Melee, not the full group of organizers who banned him previously, decided that an indefinite ban was unfair, and they'd essentially give him the equivalent of parole starting on January 1st, 2023. A full 1 year and 6 months after his initial punishment. Additionally, he was given 4 rules that he had to follow, otherwise they would ban him for life. Number 1, the banned individual releases no further public statements about fellow community members, which can be considered in violation of COC Rules 2.2.1 and 2.3.3. That would be the rules outlining directed and malicious intimidation, harassment, or bullying, and repeated unwanted advances on another participant through online means. Number 2, the banned individual engages in no additional interviews or public discussions on the topic of their ban for their own social media channels or any others. Yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. That is a gag order for video game drama. Number 3, the banned individual does not seek to further appeal this ban with the NYC Melee tournament organizers. Well, they were unbanning him, so I don't see how this one makes any sense. And number 4, the banned individual does not ask to be reinstated as part of the NYC Melee tournament organizing group, even after the ban is lifted. If you're unaware why this one's important, NYC Melee's biggest event is known as The Nightclub, but it used to go by a very different name. Before Hax got banned, it was promptly titled Hax's Nightclub. The second he got blacklisted, they scrubbed his name off his own event, and when they unbanned him, he wasn't even allowed to ask to be reinstated. Whoever said second chances don't exist?
What was the name of the event before that? Hax Nightclub? Oh. Damn, I didn't know that's what it was called. Yeah, that's fucked up, bro. That's fucked up.
But of course, after he passed away, they made a touching gesture by closing their doors for the week, which made up for everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that didn't go over so well. To be honest, anything short of making Hax's friend Wes the head TO, who was running a tournament with him before he passed away, and changing the name back to Hax's Nightclub will not save the tarnished image of that event and the staff who run it. I spoke to a few players in the NYC community at a dinner after his funeral, and that seemed to be the general sentiment. You can roll the die on that, but hey, I'm just the messenger. Hey guys, Editor Tech here with some breaking news. Wes actually started a tournament series called 20XX to honor Hax and his legacy, and a day after he announced it, NYC Melee came back from their hiatus to announce a name change to NYC Melee's stock exchange, and then blamed other people for the ban being mishandled. But they're an entirely new team. Well, that's a lie, because the old head TO stepped down shortly after Hax's permanent ban, and this new team was present the entire time and only implemented these new appeal systems and transparency after his passing, which I can only assume is because they didn't want to lose attendance or their place in the community to Wes. So if you're in New York, fuck these guys, go to Wes's tournament. Thank you. Normally, when you're on parole, in real life, it actually ends at some point, and you're just allowed to live your life when it's over. You would probably think that if your crime was making a couple unhinged YouTube videos, that possibly, after participating in 34 events over the course of a year with no incidents, keeping the parole active at that point, for a video game community, seems a little overkill. A full year and 20 days after his conditional unban, the full list of organizers had still not officially done anything about his ban situation, and he was unable to attend major events like Genesis that year.
On Twitter, I had no intention of sabotaging his weekend. I just wanted to let people know how much I miss being able to attend events like Big House and Genesis.
One of the largest video game tournaments on the West Coast is taking place in San Jose.
The largest Super Smash Bros. Tournament in the world. Welcome to Genesis X.
It was the best feeling to like listen to the crowd, hear them, hear the cheers, the boos.
Boo. Boo, nigga, get off the screen. Boo. And after 2 years, 11 months, and 28 days, Hax's ban was still officially indefinite. Keep in mind that he was not, in fact, actually unbanned ever. Most of the events he attended were online ones hosted by Hungrybox and his local event, The Nightclub, with a small handful of bigger events like Level Up Expo, DreamHack, Smash Factor, Creed, and Tipped Off 14. This is where the gaslighting starts to kick in, so pay close attention. Because Hax was still limited in the scope of what he could participate in after over a year of good behavior, he began to think that the problem wasn't whether he was a threat, but rather that people still saw his initial criticisms as malicious and baseless, and viewed him as an antagonist. And in order to fix this, he'd have to set the record straight.
I'm making this video because at this point I've determined that certain things will never be resolved unless I provide a proper explanation for my actions from a few years ago. At the bottom of Armada's post, it mentioned that there were testimonies written during this time period which contained sensitive information. I was actually the one who submitted these testimonies to tournament organizers 12 days later on February 21st, 2013. These testimonies are collectively known as evidence.zip.
That resulted in Leffen's infamous ban in 2013. That he still doesn't think he deserved.
People know about the evidence.zip, and although I do not think that that was deserved, like being banned for it.
However, even without a single reference to dictators or Machiavellianism, and despite an apology to Leffen and the community in that video,
I'm pleading for some empathy from community leaders and tournament organizers given how extreme these circumstances were. I was having a difficult time accepting these circumstances back when they were ongoing, and should have refrained from responding to them so hastily. I'm sorry for the hyperbole and paranoia that I exhibited on the original video. I confess that this was unnecessary. I apologize to Leffen and the community for projecting that narrative.
This still technically broke Article 2 of his parole. So 2 days later, NYC Melee announced a permanent ban, and the group who hadn't decided a length for his ban in 3 years miraculously reunited. And after only 11 days, announced a global permanent ban from ever competing in Melee again. So I guess they can come to a decision after all.
To be honest, I feel like what gives me strength is the idea that I think Melee is fucking dope, and I think anybody who thinks that it's dope should be able to play it without a problem. And so if anybody's creating a problem for somebody who wants to play Melee, then I feel like they've got a problem with me. So that's what lets me feel strong and saying like, yeah, I'm a cuck. I'm simping for anybody who wants to play Melee.
I want to understand how you stop us from playing a video game in America. In a toxic relationship, they gaslight you, bro. They do all sorts of things that make you question your own sanity. Don't listen to them. We need to stop listening to them.
I'm heartbroken to hear about Hax's passing. He was loved by many, and I'll never forget the time we spent together. Double Falcon with Hax may have been the most fun I ever had playing the game. It really hurts to feel like I couldn't do anything to help such a dear friend. R.I.P. Well, I wouldn't say you couldn't do anything. I mean, you could have started by saying literally anything about his situation at any point in time. If you really want to know how to stop people from playing a video game in America, you should ask your friends. Because at this point, they've stopped more people from playing Melee than Nintendo. Fun fact, NYC Melee gave a 2-month ban for a TO and photographer telling multiple people to kill themselves, and only a 2-year ban for a player guilty of unwanted sexual advances over a call. They were trying to force someone to give them sexual gratification and then guilt trip them afterwards. Meanwhile, Hax's crime was explaining himself, apologizing, and got banned for the rest of his life. Yeah, I might off myself for landing myself here. I've been in the scene for nearly 20 years. You know, a few years ago, all I had to do was quote retweet you and explain that you're right, and it'd be a different timeline. I don't think that's a good idea, Hax. There's more to life than Melee. Well, regardless, I want to leave the Melee scene with some things to think about, so I will proceed with the plan. I'll run it by you as I go along. Alright, but don't do anything rash. I don't plan on helping you write your own suicide note. I've already committed suicide. In Melee, there's still so much more in not only the gaming sphere, but the world. Yeah, of course, but within Melee, I have to fix the misconception that I was the antagonist here. A majority of people did not have a problem with Hax's January ban appeal video, or Hax for that matter, and that's reflected not only in the response to their decision, but the fact that later they would eventually discuss repealing it anyways. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Mikey and the head TO of NYC Melee would attempt to minimize this negative criticism by blaming me, obviously, but also pulling the classic Redditor's gambit, writing a bunch of meaningless shit and hoping that everyone blindly trusts you based on the word count instead of looking into the substance of what you're saying. Let's start off with Willie P's statement, who I've been informed is now trans and goes by Julia. I didn't know that, so just thought you should know in case you get confused with the name swap. Hax's video before Big House by itself violated at least one of the clauses. We did not want to ban him for that though. Wow, how thoughtful of them. Julia just outlined exactly why the parole clauses were seemingly written by a child. The video being referenced here that violated a clause is a 3-minute long apology to the community in Leffen, condemning his past videos and the alleged harassment Leffen was receiving after Hax posted a Twitter apology doing the same thing. How could an apology possibly cause someone to get harassed, you might ask? Well, good question. In response to that apology, Leffen decided to lie about him never apologizing, even though he apologized 3 times before making the post, which also happened to be an apology itself. Then Leffen deleted the tweet after realizing he lied, and dropped out of the upcoming major tournament Big House the next day because he was now allegedly receiving death threats. Now, you as the viewer probably look at this situation and think, well, that's odd, but I can agree that death threats are bad, and then you'd move on with your day. Well, not if you're a Smash organizer, because they looked at this situation and with their unrivaled intellect in handling conduct issues, decided that it was 100% correlation equal causation. It's Hax's fault that Leffen received a random threat. According to them, it couldn't have possibly been because Leffen was leveraging falsehoods and abusing victim status to continue alienating a guy he historically bullied. No, it was Hax's fault for making him lie and forcing him to piss people off. And these idiots actually expect you to uncritically agree with this narrative.
And not once in any of these video makings have I ever thought Hax was a real threat to a tournament. The only person that he was supposedly a threat to was Leffen, and Leffen is known to embellish literally everything.
I do not believe Hax himself encouraged the threats or harassment against others, but whether intentional or not, when your consistent actions have consistent consequences, it is up to you to correct that, or to plain stop those actions. After some time to reflect on my previous arguments, I finally understand why they kept explaining his ban like this, but let's look at Mikey's statement before I expose this little revelation. To be clear, Hax is permanently banned from Smash tournaments for defamatory claims that he made about Leffen, including alleging without any evidence that he conspired to make false allegations of sexual misconduct against Zero for his personal gain. I'm going to stop you right there, Mikey. If you wanted to make this argument in 2024, you'd have to ignore at least 2 facts. 1. Jisoo and Leffen spoke about him supporting her and spreading her message before she even posted a single tweet. Furthermore, she messaged me yesterday and asked for advice for how to deal with this very nuanced situation about Zero, and if she should say something. We don't talk much, to be clear, but she said she trusted my judgment. Not sure I'm deserving of it, so I tried my best to give her advice. You could certainly debate the contents of their private conversation, but premeditation is an indisputable fact. Secondly, Jisoo admitted to lying herself. That's not my opinion, and it's not a conspiracy theory. In the legal settlement, as of September 10th, 2022, so I don't know how you missed it, Jisoo apologized for making inaccurate statements about Zero's ex-wife Vanessa, which, to be clear, refers to Jisoo lying about Vanessa being 15 and Zero being 20 when they started dating. She did this so she could frame their relationship as grooming in her document, and she based this off of nothing but conjecture. If she truly wasn't attempting to be bad faith or malicious when she posted the allegations, she could have easily verified, like she claimed to in the first sentence of her document, something as simple as an age. Instead, she poisoned the well with misinformation that incited people to demand for Vanessa's birth certificate. She also spent no time vetting the several other stories that were gathered for this mega document, but that's a conversation for another video. When Leffen supported this campaign with her, he neglected to confirm any of the information he was co-signing, and co-signed her again after knowing she lied the first time in the very lawsuit that proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. If that wasn't bad enough, that's also ignoring how Leffen signal boosted Mewtwo King's false allegations, who now regrets accepting his apology and wants him banned from the community for being a terrible person. Now all we'd have to do is somehow prove that Leffen profited from this entire situation. But there's no way he'd just tell us, right?
The real hero here isn't me, it's the people that were brave enough to speak up, knowing what harassment they would face. And honestly, I've been struggling with feelings of guilt because I've gained a lot of subscribers, a lot of followers, and attention because of these awful things happening. I know many people have struggled with the same feelings. It's just been extremely rough for all of us.
It's honestly been really hard to deal with the fact that I've been gaining a ton of followers and subscribers during this week. My caveman brain can't help but be happy when I see the numbers go up. And at the same time, I can't stop feeling insanely guilty for it.
Leffen made a video about it, and it's like his most viewed video. And that sucks. I think it's just like, it's just to spread awareness, but then there's also like, there is gain from it. There's inherent gain from it, which sucks.
It's just so hard to deal with all this positive attention, thousands of new followers, and money coming my way. It's hard for all of us, really. I think in time, I might be able to start my healing journey. Stop calling me a hero, or Melee's savior, or the voice of a generation. The real hero is all of you. At least in Hax's videos, he provided citations. Mikey just says, he defamed Leffen. We just gotta trust his expertise. Let me drop the fun, informative video essay shtick and my online persona for a second. Me and you aren't qualified lawyers, right, Mikey? But at the very least, I was actively involved in the Jisoo defamation lawsuit, and I personally wrote out the arguments and citations myself that were then sent to and used by the attorney to reach a legal settlement where she agreed to delete her entire document and admitted to lying. The document had an insane amount of allegations in it. There was allegations about Sky, there was like 5 about Zero, but that's besides the point. If you care about that, go watch the Sky House video. When it comes to saying what is and isn't defamation in this case, what the fuck are your credentials exactly? You're just some guy who runs video game tournaments. For all we know, you've done absolutely zero research into any of this. In fact, the first time you attempted to actually substantiate your argument, you exposed that you didn't know anything because you had to immediately correct yourself multiple times. You are in no way an authority on this topic, and quite frankly, I think most of this goes right over your head.
And unfortunately, the people with the largest platforms in the community tend either to be silent or outright wrong on these issues. You know, when Technicals is the leading voice on the subject, just fucking yikes, man.
And quite frankly, funny orange man funny. The revelation that all of this brought me to is that somewhere along the timeline, Hax's ban stopped being about the insane comparisons and the length of his Leffen coverage, and instead turned into a flat-out ban against criticizing Leffen. I think Leffen did bad shit years before the ban, but he corrected his behavior. He's still a piece of shit. Correct, but not in a misconduct way. I challenge you guys to go watch the January 2024 ban appeal video that they cite as being worthy of a permanent ban, and tell me that those are the exact same unhinged arguments he made in 2021. It's not even close. It was a very reasonable explanation of not only his motives, but goes as far as to explicitly apologize for his past coverage, and again to Leffen himself. How the fuck could this possibly be in violation of a harassment clause? They unironically made valid criticism of Leffen against the rules while simultaneously acknowledging that he's a piece of shit.
See, because I know Leffen in real life. I know he's a piece of shit, but I don't know. I still know him as a person.
Because he's such an effective crybully that even when he's lying and downplays his own abuse, he can still somehow make you the bad guy for calling it out. This is the most clear-cut example of narcissistic abuse and Darvo I think I've ever seen. The cherry on top is that after stringing Hax along for years, Mikey blocked and ghosted him, and when people reminded him recently in posts from his tournament series, he had them outright delete the posts. he just deleted them, just fucking nuked him. And Julia tried to paint him as a stalker for waiting patiently outside of the event he created to see if he could discuss things in person after being blocked.
Yeah, they were saying that he was continuously hitting them up and harassing them. I don't know about harassing. I don't know the extent of the messages, But I think if you're continuously hitting somebody up because they're not answering you, and this is like for your ability to be able to play the game with the other people that you want to play with, and yeah, I mean, like, I don't really see why you wouldn't keep hitting them up. After that, it just felt like they were trying to make a point. Like, all right, bro, if you keep hitting us up, we're gonna keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. They also publicized legal documents that, according to Julia, they had access to months in advance, which contained Hax's full name and address. It's literally on the first page. This would be impossible to miss if you actually read it at any point. Leffen liked it, Mikey defended it by perpetuating the lie that it wasn't his actual address, Julia spread it, of course, Chroma from Melee Stats posted excerpts out of context, and Jackzilla said it was public for months, which is also a lie because if you actually looked it up, you can't find the deposition files on any public case records. Otherwise, it would have likely had redactions for this exact reason. You can really tell who does and doesn't have experience looking up legal cases. The files originated from an internal dispute with his company's manufacturing, but if you want to know all the financial details, you can watch this segment from my Victims of Leffen video. But if you want a quick summary, it's basically like a financial ruination plot where all these people undercut his product and steal his IP, but go watch it for the details. The whole thing where they openly spread his docs is like a massive cover-up job, even to this day, because none of them have taken accountability, and no one has been punished for it. So I guess that's just another installment in the "it's okay when we do it" community. This is the part of the story where things start to really go downhill. I'd like to clarify before I get into the meat of all this, that at the end of the day, it is always the individual's choice if they decide to give up. I'm not denying that. But if you're gonna tell me that bullying, financial ruination, and social isolation aren't major factors, then you have no idea what you're talking about, and you can shove your opinion right up your ass. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on conveying from here on out. Like I said, this entire video is like a massive info dump, so grab some snacks, strap in. Before Hax got permanently banned, I was more like a consultant. You see, I spoke to him starting in April of 2021 because I wanted to know more about Jisoo and what happened in the Sky House. That was his ex-girlfriend. I figured he might have some additional knowledge. But after Hax randomly decided to throw his hat in the ring of Smash video essays, which actually fucked me over by somehow allowing Leffen to play victim before I could call him out for contributing to the spread of false allegations, which I did do, Hax decided that he should work with me so we could hopefully avoid another self-inflicted disaster. Unfortunately, I failed. And for the longest time, I wondered why. Despite him supposedly trusting my judgment, did Hax never listen to me, franchise, or anyone else who told him to stop making YouTube videos? It's a little late at this point, but thankfully I finally have an answer. And this actually provided me with a lot of needed closure. There existed a Facebook group of Hax's close friends where he would try to get them to appeal to local organizers in New York and discuss potential strategies to get him unbanned. Of course, some of his friends had good intentions, and I'm not at all saying that anyone involved in these groups is a bad person or was giving bad advice. Some of them genuinely cared and just wanted to help. But there is a few special people that make my fucking blood boil. One of these guys I'm referring to was actually at the funeral and gave a speech.
My name is Rael, my tag is ItemHog, and I'm here to speak about some of the amazing contributions that Hax made to New York City Melee.
There he is, Rael, aka ItemHog. At first, I debated stopping him when I saw him approach the podium, but I still hadn't fully confirmed the information I'm about to show you, so at the moment I just let it slide. However, after this, I found out that he used to be on the mod team for Hax's Discord server until he started fucking with him, telling him to keep making videos, and made fun of his amputated leg and mental struggles after the attempt in August. As some additional context, it does seem that Rael and these other guys initially were advising Hax against uploading the videos, which I can understand. But these guys in particular took Hax's stubbornness and the fact that he kept relapsing on his ban situation and decided that instead of stepping away and giving him the space to kind of work through the problems that he was having, that they were going to start fucking with him and actively troll him as a group. Rael ended up joining the Mana Monthly server and then started dumping a fuck ton of screenshots, almost to like brag about how they were messing with him. He leaked DMs he had with Hacks where he was just straight up making fun of him. Like after the train incident, he said, "I thought of saying I'm just keeping score, but I don't want to imply he should continue the set. I wonder if he will come back asking me to return. He saw I was making fun of him here, and it hurt his feelings." I got banned from 20XX, so now I can be even more transphobic and make fun of Hacks even harder. Were you the one who made that deepfake? It's so good. You should make another one of Hacks telling people he's gonna join Mana Monthly and everyone else should too. Hacks would hate that. Hacks took the expression break a leg a little too literally. What would be funnier is to wait until next time Hacks streams ranked and we all chime in his chat telling him to break a leg. Join us, Nate. Tell him to break a leg next time he streams ranked. Just straight up planning to brigade him and harass him over his amputated leg. They also thought it would be insanely funny to pretend like they were spies for Leffen that were trying to actively sabotage Hacks. We just kept blatantly sarcastically telling Hacks that Rael and Orez were Leffen double agents sent to sabotage him. Okay, now here's where it starts to get good. Orez sending Hacks an emote of a duck with burnt cheeks, and Hacks immediately starts to get suspicious he is an undercover cop. Oh, I wonder why that might be. Maybe it's because you guys kept insinuating he was an undercover cop? I can't believe this fucking guy, Rael. I just heard about the truth of why that video got released in the first place. Rael admitted that it was all his fault, and I couldn't believe the audacity of the guy. Unreal. Unrael. It's his fault for everything. He's the reason for Melee, you, your ED, the video, the future of Melee, your virginity, Leffen, Box, etc. If you can't tell, they're just fucking with him. Like, a lot of these messages, they're, like he said, sarcastically just fucking with him to see if he'll notice that he's being trolled. Here's Hacks telling them that he was going to kill himself, but of course that didn't stop the trolling. Do you know Orez? I just found out he's getting paid by Leffen. When Hacks tried to reach out to Rael to clear it up, he kind of went along with it, saying, well, I can't definitely say he isn't an undercover cop. I don't know the guy. Then he leaked the full conversation between Orez and Hacks regarding the spy allegations. I logged every message and sent to TOs. Rest in piss, little bro. What? Why? It was planned. Why? Why? I'm in a fine spot IRL. I have to move away from Melee, obviously, but why? Why did you spy on me? I trusted you with my life. Rael did it too. Not to the extent you did. What? Who are you, dude? What the fuck? Like, actually, he's a Fed, ban him too. Just tell me who you are. Why did you do this? We were close. I was paid to do it. By who? Leffen. What the fuck? Are you serious? Yeah. How much? 10,000 USD. Monthly? No, one time. And Rael too? Yeah. How did he approach you? Did he just straight up say 10k to spy on Hacks? He friended me on Discord. I hate controllers or something. That was his username. He really did this? Why are you surprised? I guess I'm not. Why would you do this, dude? This is so immoral. You and I were friends. I was paid to do it. Money is yummy. Orez, you're being serious right now, man? You really did this? I don't know what you want from me. I'm just asking if you really did this. Yes, times 10. Orez, be honest with me. Is this real or are you trolling? Cause this shit is no joke, bro. It's real. I have to go and get a real job. I know that. Show me the proof right now. Why? Because I need to know if this is for real. This is really fucked up. He PayPal'd me on a burner. Why would it matter? Doesn't even say his real name. Bro, you're being serious right now? I'm not snitching for 10k. You have to pay me. Here's Rael pointing out that Hacks was having a mental breakdown, so his mom took over his Discord to reply to Orez saying, dude, whatever, if you aren't sorry, then so be it, you're an asshole. And his mom says, shut up, Orez. Hacks was hospitalized for 2 weeks. Get over yourself and your stupid hitman stories. That was such a sick prank, guys. That was so fucking funny, so epic how he had a mental breakdown. He actually thought Leffen sent me 10k. I didn't even know what to say when he asked for proof. I just said it was on a burner. No proof needed. He'll believe it. Schizoid attack. Mummy, please help. Wow, great fucking friends here. Oh, Chops and Joey and IOUK also told Hacks that Leffen paid for my honeymoon and wedding. Rael sure is buying a lot of nice stuff lately. Rael went to Paris for his honeymoon on an Uber driver's salary. Then Rael was paid by Leffen. Haha, so funny, am I right, IOUK, who was also at the funeral? I talked to you, by the way. Yeah, I found you. You posted a picture of yourself in the server, and now I know it was you. You're the legendary Hacks troll who changed his name from Rael's bitch to Amputee while you were talking to him. Really sick, them bragging about making him have mental episodes and questioning who his real friends are and if he's being spied on constantly. Telling him to make another video. Damn, I guess maybe another video can't hurt then. Yo, this is Willie P, right? I'm about to hit him up on your behalf. Yeah, please tell him Hacks is in an extremely dire situation and needs amnesty on his ban, as Melee is the community he's been a part of for the past 20 years. He skipped college to do this and everything. His entire life was devoted to it. I would truly appreciate the chance to speak with him. What did they do instead of actually reach out to Willie P? They created a fabricated interaction between them and Willie P, again to see if Hacks would notice that he's being trolled and to fuck with him. Joey fabricated this exchange between him and Willie, which gave Hacks some false hope. LMAO. I picture Hacks refreshing Willie's Twitter constantly for days looking for that announcement, which was never coming. I think you guys get the idea. It's just a bunch of terrible shit exactly like this. I can't even begin to explain how evil you have to be to actively fuck over negotiations to get his life back, make fun of his disability and depression, and then show up at his funeral and in front of his own mother act like you gave a single fuck about him. I know this is you because I confirmed it with Manalord and I joined the server and found the rest of what you were saying myself. Did you think I wouldn't find this? I'm amazed you were stupid enough to think I'd let you off the hook. Let's give a shout out to Chops, Joey, and IOUK for all their work in encouraging Hacks to make more videos for our entertainment. You can't be serious. You, IOUK, Orez, and everyone else who went out of their way to manipulate and harass Hacks, in my opinion, are the most vile people in this entire fucked up situation. And I'm not even one to usually police trolling or cracking jokes, but this was supposedly your friend who was suicidal. Where the fuck is your moral compass? Laughing at faked conversations with organizers to give him false hope? Constant jokes about his amputated leg and coordinated harassment over it? Lying about being a paid Leffen spy to fuck with him and make him paranoid, and constantly trolling him when he needed real friends? How is this even funny to you? I didn't even show everything that exists because it's just pages and pages of the same disgusting shit. There's so much. I can make a whole video on just you. And I just might do that. If you had a problem with how Hacks was treating you and responding to you, you could have just removed yourself from the situation like a normal person, instead of egging him on when he was clearly in a dark place. And then have the fucking balls to start shitting on the TOs and top players like you're somehow better. But hey, at least you got a few good laughs out of it, right? Before I decided to officially pull the trigger and get involved, I gave the Melee community a chance to listen to Simple Flips, your run-of-the-mill, unproblematic Nintendo enthusiast with a sizable audience. That was your nice guy. That was your diplomacy you've been constantly begging me for. I watched as he reached out to the organizers in a video without a shred of ill will, and they ignored and mocked him for not being a Melee player, and then deleted his video from the Melee subreddit for being, quote, not high effort, original, and unrelated to competitive play. But we'll get back to Duffy and the Reddit later, trust me. If you are actually upset that this is not a Leffen documentary, I do not care. Franchise's video recently got age restricted, and it was already an amazing video, so go watch that. You all were given plenty of options. You were given time. You were given more leeway than most, and yet I still find this community unprepared for the arrival of Nintendo. So I'd like to remind you all, before you go running to complain on Twitter, that you asked for this. I've already explained why the prolonged ban made no sense, but in the aftermath of Hacks' passing, these cowards have been working overtime to cover up their involvement. They even went back to the statement they released for Hacks' permanent ban and removed all of their names and events from the list of signatories. Oh, come on, guys. What's the problem? Don't be shy. That's your John Hancock. You should be proud of it. Here, I'll help you out. Let's do a full roll call. Mikey, the Cheat from Smash Camp. Robin, Juggle Guy from The Big House. Johnny, Gumball, Pittsburgh. Patrick, Teslick, Upstate New York. David, LD from Off Brand. Nathan Sandwich, NorCal Melee. Galint Gaming, which is owned and operated by Deer. Quade, Florida TO. Joshua Jed, Eggdog Esports. Austin, Horde from Full Bloom. Knuckles, EUTO. Aaron, Riptide TO. Max Sylvie, Washington TO. Willie P, now Julia, NYC Melee. Chandler Ohan from Tipped Off. Connor, Contra from Level 1 TV. Scrat, Alabama TO. Sheridan from Genesis. But there's more context here with Genesis specifically that I'll go over in a second. George, Georgie, San Diego Melee. Team Fede, UK Melee, ran by JSOT. Eric, AZ Melee. Kevin, Tenacity, Chicagoland Melee. Coin, Michigan TO. Tuesday from Texas Melee. Jerry from Top Shelf Esports. Melodies, Sweden/Valhalla TO. Tiles, Portugal TO. Kafka from La French Melee. Flippy, Sweden TO. Ridley, also from La French Melee. Irfan, Germany TO. Dendy Pretendy, Minnesota. Link69, head TO of Arca Melee. Toronto Joe, the owner of Even Matchup Gaming and on the Gommel staff. RJ from the Collision series. God damn, we got the all-star team back together. Now, if your decision was justified and you stand by your reasoning, what is the point of retroactively going back and scrubbing all of your names? Did you perhaps forget that the internet is forever? Ever heard of the Streisand effect? I'm sure you haven't. All you did was expose that you are ashamed, scared of backlash, and want to erase it from the history books. This was already pathetic, but some of you continued to go above and beyond and truly deserve a gold star. But before the awards ceremony, while some people stood by a permanent ban, I want to first clear up the position from Genesis, because I've talked extensively with their lead of security, Emre, for years, and I've actually spoken to the organizer, Bobak, as well. Bobak maintained a clear line of communication with Hax as a longtime friend, and even though the last Genesis wasn't on the table, there was clear intent to reconsider his ban and give him a pathway to return. The obvious stipulations were disavowing anyone harassing TOs and players, and to stop releasing videos. I did my part by making sure he disavowed me and everyone else. But I don't think anyone really understood the depth of the manipulation behind the scenes when it came to Hax continuing to release more videos. I mean, if we did, then I think this would have ended way differently. Emre was helping provide him with a program through the CSRP that would serve as a tangible way to convince stubborn organizers of his growth, and if he continued on the path he was on, Bobak saw a good chance of unbanning him along with his vouch. As he stated to me, "No one's perfect, and if you're not a danger to yourself, the attendees, and are not physically violent or have not sexually assaulted anyone, there is a good chance we will reconsider the ban after some time and progress on the individual's part." Unfortunately, I think the prolonged isolation and Hax's relapse into heavy drinking had more of an effect than people realized. After all, depression is a series of highs and lows, and just when you think someone's on the right path, they suddenly veer off and crash without any warning. So I'd like to thank Emre and Bobak, because from a first-hand perspective, I know that Genesis was trying to help him. And while I appreciate the Genesis team's transparency, some of you could really take some notes from their example. Can anybody please let me know if Deer from Galint Gaming has early onset dementia? Because in response to this list being leaked, he angrily DM'd NYC Furby about how he did not permanently ban Aziz, and to leave him alone so he could grieve his friend. Okay, I just have a couple of questions. Aren't you the owner of Galint Gaming? Yup. And this is your company's signature? Yup. I found this signature in a publicized statement meant to permanently ban Hax. And if that's the case, this must be your position. Makes sense to me. Then you permanently banned Hax. Show me where I signed off on a ban letter. Oh my fucking god! This fucking dude hid a reply to one of his tweets that showed the archive list with him on it. Oh, but it gets better. Because Deer was running a tournament named Battle of BC 7 right after doing this, and he had a beautiful moment of silence followed by a speech for hacks during the broadcast. Except you wouldn't know that because he did the entire thing off stream while an ad for Domino's was running. This moment of silence was brought to you by Domino's new Parmesan Stuffed Crust Pizza. Use code BOBC30 to get 30% off and save some hacks fucking money. Wow, you must have been such great friends. I can't imagine why you'd be getting shit over this. I've seen Smash players start boycotts for less, but I guess the head TO lying about banning a player who just passed away to save his own ass didn't quite pass the sniff test. Jackzilla, no relation to CoffeeZilla, wasn't on the list, but he is an organizer and works with Austin from Full Bloom, who was on the list. You can see him joking about letting Austin take all the heat in IBDW's Twitch chat. You probably didn't think I was gonna find that though, did you? I brought up Jackzilla for a couple of reasons. The first being how he shit on all of Mexico because they allowed hacks at their big tournament Smash Factor after running a community poll that showed 90% were in favor of his attendance. He called this whack, said they should have spoken to TOs who did the ban, and called the Mexican community engagement baiters participating in a culture war. And then compared Hacks' situation to transphobia and soliciting a minor. Not at all a ridiculous overreaction. Of course, this all starts to make a ton of sense once you realize that Jackzilla is a Redditor. The other problem I had is that it seemed like not only him, but the entire Melee Stats team refused to cover the event at all through their blogs or social media as a form of protest for the decision. Danny, who writes the updates on where to look to find Melee, said, "I'm not mentioning any events that have hacks." Notably, he also said this right after hacks got permabanned. I do sort of feel bad for NYC people, because I imagine their IRL weekly experience with hacks is totally fine, and then online hacks is a blatant dumb fuck and betraying the faith they put in him. So I'm guessing there's no bias here.
Well said, my goat.
Look at this fucking dick rider. You really listed Wes as a large community figure. If the ban was mishandled, I think it was in large part because NYC Melee TOs struggled to reconcile the nature of Hacks' offense with the fact that they were literally Hacks' friends and didn't want to ban him, but kind of had to. They are just human beings who were presented a very tough situation, and literally no one would have handled it correctly. Fuck do you mean no one would have handled it correctly? All you had to do was tell Leffen to stop being a pussy, unban Hacks, and you would have had this situation handled by lunch. Which do you guys think sounds cooler? Settle it in Smash, or settle it in endless deliberation in a kangaroo court? Nah, we might have to workshop that last one. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue. I can't believe they had Mikey and Jackzilla staffing at the tournament Full Bloom, where they redirected people during the event to go watch Hacks' live stream funeral. I'm certain the tragic irony of this decision was completely lost on Austin, but whatever. Let's also not forget the write-up from GoShine, who was also on the Full Bloom team, where he mentions how unfair it was that people were dropping out of their tournament that was on the same day as Hacks' funeral, and without mentioning him once, said that what the community really needed more than anything was to get together at their tournament and play some Melee. Beautiful sentiment, but I think you're missing one critical point here. Hacks wouldn't have had that opportunity because you banned him for life. Hey, but at least they paid their respects. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. I had a few people reach out to me telling me not to talk about this next person. His girlfriend, Mewtwo King. They even mentioned how his DMs were open if I wanted to talk. Hell, even he eventually messaged me. What a surprise that was for me. You know, I seem to remember a time 9 months ago where I offered to have a conversation.
Fuck all this gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep bullshit. Let's just sit down and have a real conversation about it. It doesn't have to be me at the table. It doesn't have to be me. Get someone you respect, get someone you like, get someone, who gets your dick wet, and they'll tell you everything that I'm telling you right now. But they'll do it in a way where your brain can actually comprehend it.
For some unknown reason, I'm not feeling all that charitable anymore. You had your chance, and you blew it. So guess what that means? Now I don't have to hold back information anymore because I don't give a shit, and now we're gonna do it my way.
That's why myself and other top players, Cody especially, handled things privately with him.
If I'm honest, the only thing I'm really contemplating, like obviously I'm trying to grieve loss of someone, but the only thing I'm really contemplating and worried about is how I want to deal with the eventual technicals video, whatever, coming out. I swear half the people forget that someone died, and it's not the time to just shit on people. It's crazy that like 80% of our issues are because of one drama YouTuber. Maybe like 70% are because of one fucking shitty drama YouTuber. And it's not the time to just shit on people. It's genuinely insane to me that like 80 to 70% of our issues, maybe between 60 and 80, are for one fucking dude. Maverick, his name rhymes with testicles. You can deduct that from what you will, and it's not the time to just shit on people. The worst part is like that type of like journalism actually has such a like potentially vital, integral, like helpful part to so many scenes, but the way it's done is just so disingenuous. Like, you don't have to do it as a piece of shit to make money. You could actually try to be a good person with that. And it's not the time to just shit on people. It unironically rhymes with testicles, which is kind of funny. I actually never thought about that, but it does rhyme with testicles. Yeah, it's just really not the day for shitting on people. I'm sure he will do the best job of research that he physically can and be as good faith to everyone that he's going to try to go after as possible. I challenge him to actually try to learn literally everything that's going on and then make a completely formed opinion of it that tries to be as good faith to everyone as possible. I would love to see it. If he was able to do that, I would take everything back that I say about him. Literally everything. Even if I don't agree with the outcome.
Oh, don't worry, Cody. I will be thorough.
He's a drama tuber. He's going to be making videos on this. People are like, you got to be ready for that. It's going to come out. No, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He made a video the second Hacks tried to commit suicide. Yes. Doesn't matter.
What the fuck are you talking about? The attempt was in late August, specifically August 20th. So which video are you referencing here, Cody? Exposing the laziest GameCube controller scam? The follow-up? A Guilty Gear video, a random Smash allegation, infiltration, Noel Brown, another Guilty Gear video, Smash lawsuit, and then ESAM. I never made a video the second Hacks tried to commit suicide, you dumb piece of shit. The whole reason I started covering his case on my channel was because he told me his situation was making him suicidal and he needed my help. But since you want to run your mouth so much, let's take a good long look at how you helped him. Cody is the second best Melee player in the world, and if you listen to him, he'd have you believe that he and Hacks were friends for a decade with just a 4-year rocky patch from 2019 to 2022.
Who's been my friend for a decade, even when we fought 5 years ago. We definitely had a rocky patch from like 2019 to 2021-ish, 2022-ish, but before and after we were good friends.
As someone who spoke to Hacks about this specific topic after Cody started calling him clinically insane on Twitter, I actually have a significant amount of context for this. I've been taking shit from this guy for 4 years, lol. He fucked up the entire tri-state scene by dating Jisoo 2 months after I broke up with her, then approaching me at a tournament in early 2019, putting his hand on my shoulder and saying he's sorry. Like, okay bro, you could have had the common sense not to date the girl I just broke up with, but whatever.
I literally could not stand my grandmother anymore because she basically kicked me out of the house 4 times because I wasn't going back to law school immediately when I wasn't mentally ready to. Very luckily, Jisoo actually just let me come stay with her for like a year. She let me share a 1-bedroom studio with her while we tried to get my shit together.
At that point, I recognized that I hated him, but I didn't think too much of it. Then at Pound 2019, he tells me the fake mom story. Then at the end of 2019, he tells me the story wasn't real. And I'm like, LMFAO. What is the fake mom story? And why is it important to this situation? Well, it's important because Cody is one of the people responsible for Hacks getting banned in the first place. Their public fight over this story took place 3 days before the indefinite ban statement was released, and Cody was explicitly asked what he thought should be his punishment.
Of course I threw gas on the fire. He came after me. He was saying ridiculous shit. The first ban, yeah, I was a part of that. I said 1 year, 2021, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, I haven't denied that once.
Even though it ended up lasting way longer than a year, but whatever, that's besides the point. In July of 2020, in the middle of all the allegations surfacing, Cody took this time to publish a confusing twitlonger where he admits to lying, manipulating, and invading the privacy and trust of his friends by lying to them about having sex with his mom when he was 14 and she was in her 40s. Yes, you heard me correctly. I know you went back to check, but he lied about having sex with his mom. I say it's confusing because in the same twitlonger, he said, "My mother made advances on me, and I hooked up with my mother." I don't think Cody understands that hooking up with someone colloquially also means having sex. This story resurfaced in Hax's Discord around the time of the evidence.zip video dropping in response to Cody calling out Hax. Cody found these conversations, posted them on the timeline, and scolded Hax for laughing about his fake story. Kept this shit to myself because I didn't want to drop a bombshell, but if you're gonna fucking fight fire with me, I'm gonna fight back. Told this bitch about what happened with my mom back at Pound Underground, and lied, wrongfully so, about the extent because of insecurities. What was his response, you might ask? Something along the lines of me being 14 and I had to have partially wanted it. And then he writes about how to not believe victims. Literally, I hope you go away and never come back. Fuck you, sincerely and wholeheartedly. I don't think I've ever felt this much blind rage and hatred towards someone in my life. Holy fuck. I was friends with this piece of shit for 4 years, trusted enough to open up about something like this. I hope you get help, and I hope you never cross my path again. Because I found Cody's public explanation so confusing, and no one even knows what really happened, I took it upon myself to ask for the full context. This is cut and dry manipulation / malicious intent. The entire thing I was criticizing him for was that he willfully and maliciously lied about having sex with his mother. I spent an entire night listening to how his mother's pussy is moist, then later he tells me the story wasn't real. So what did he do with his mother? Kiss only. He told me IRL that his mom was moist and wrote him, then later told me that none of this was real. I wrote him off as a psycho ever since that day. He then said this about me. They kissed. They did not fuck. Okay, so let me get this straight. You kissed your mom when you were 14, which is not your fault at all. I can empathize with the abusive dynamic you were subjected to as a child. But then as a 24-year-old man, at Pound 2019, you deliberately manipulated your friend with a fake and detailed story about how you had sex with your mom for sympathy?
No, I'm definitely great at manipulating people. It's unfortunate, but I am, because I did it when I was younger.
I say you faked the story. I think he's referring to the fact that I exaggerated it when I told him initially, which obviously I agree was 100% wrong, and I should not have done that. But I think that that is one of the more excusable things that someone can do, to exaggerate trauma that is undoubtedly really shitty to them, no matter what the situation is, when they're really scared about talking about it.
You could have just said your mother took advantage of you without all the disgusting imagery, and it would have had the exact same effect. As someone who claims to be an experienced lying manipulator, I find it hard to believe that you didn't at least consider that option. Speaking of being a fucking liar, when you responded to Hax calling you out for this, you lied again. The claim that I intentionally manipulated him to garner sympathy is just outlandish. Oh, that's outlandish? Okay. Why the fuck would I use an incestual assault case to gain sympathy? I'd also like to know why someone would use an incestual assault case to gain sympathy. Because in your original twitlonger apologizing for intentionally manipulating him, you said, tried coming out a few times to people and even lied to make the details seem way worse than they were because I thought it was the only way I'd get acceptance for it. And I lied about having sex because I thought it would make it seem more in my favor. Are you seriously trying to convince people that you didn't do it for sympathy? Because that would be even more weird. Not really all that surprising, but I found another lie about you checking with Hax to make sure he was okay with you dating Jisoo. Because in your own DM talking to him about it, you said, wanted to apologize for what I did to you last year. It was pretty shitty of me to just ignore how you might have felt for my own purposes. And based on Hax's response, you can see that they're talking about Jisoo. It says it right there that you ignored his feelings. Not really that important to point out, but I just wanted to illustrate, first off, how easy it is to find him lying. But also, just because you admit that you're a liar doesn't mean you stopped lying. I still can't believe you got Tom Brady'd and then spent a whole night lying about how moist your mom was and what positions you had her in. It almost reads as if you were crossing the line of trauma into fantasy. I've never heard anyone fucking do this shit in my life. If you were really sorry, why are you going around policing their reaction and response to you lying to them and invading their trust? That's a fucking weird thing to do. You're a fucking weirdo. And because you couldn't seem to keep my name out of your mouth, now everyone knows that the second best Melee player in the entire world is Chris Chan's disciple.
No, I like went after someone. I was like, dude, do you know that I offered him 20 grand? Do you know that I'm going to probably need someone to back up, one, the fact that I offered him like 20 grand. I'll show you the direct receipt for that. I know we talked about it. If I publicly said 9 months ago that Hacks didn't let me pay for his bills for the rest of the fucking year, don't want to feel like he owes you 40K. He didn't. Here's my rule when it comes to giving people money. If I talk about what I'm doing, I say I offered him $20,000. All of a sudden, he's asking for money the next day. You have to question him. Like, dude, didn't Cody give you 20K? Oh, you didn't take it? Why didn't you take it? You know what I told him? I will take care of it if you shut up for 3 months and just go to therapy, do your stuff. I know you're working on yourself. And he still didn't do it. Even after I said, here's money, here's all the stuff you need. I offered the dude $20,000 to pay his bills while he was broke. I just don't talk about it. Why would I talk about it? I don't do things to talk about it for like fucking karma points. I do things because I think it's the right thing to do. I offered the guy 20 grand to pay his bills, talked with like 5 TOs to get him unbanned. I don't know what else you wanted me to do. I just don't talk about it. I'm sorry. Or over last summer when he was going through the worst part, I offered him $20,000 to pay his bills so he can get therapy while we try to figure out how he gets unbanned. With receipts, by the way. You know, when I was offering him that money to just pay his bills and be quiet so that he can get help and kind of get his life together. Because I was like, dude, if I tell people I basically gave him like 20 grand and he said no because he wanted to come back to Melee and not go to therapy. Didn't you offer money? I did. 20 grand for 4 months so that he could pay his bills. I was going to not do our lawn for the dogs. Also, keep in mind, Liam, I offered him 4 months of bills paid while I was on Nouns to just go to therapy.
I've been working with Hacks for the last 2 years pretty much non-stop to get him back to tournaments, outside of when my life got in the way, and offering financial assistance before I got dropped. I don't speak about it publicly because I firmly believe if you do things for people to speak about them publicly, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Did you know I offered him 20K last year when I had money to get him through the year and what I hoped was the end of his ban? If I told you he rejected 20K because he didn't want to take 4 months off to help himself, you think people would react positively to that?
How would you respond if I told you that in July I said, hi, Hacks, end of year, you're good. I'll pay for you for the rest of the year, even though you fucked up and made another video. And he said no.
Hey, did you guys know that Cody offered him $20,000? He only mentioned it 19 times. You know, I offered to pay Hacks' rent too, but you never hear me talk about it because I didn't actually give him the money, and neither did you. But Cody knows it makes him sound fucking awesome, so he mentions this hypothetical money as frequent as humanly possible. And it's so transparent because the only reason he's doing it is because he wants to get ahead of my video and thinks it will somehow make him impervious to criticism.
The only thing I'm really contemplating and worried about is how I want to deal with the eventual technicals video, whatever, coming out.
Well, let's see if that paid off. Being the second best player in the world has its advantages. Cody has a lot of influence when it comes to the culture of Melee and important decisions behind the scenes. So when he started talking to organizers on Hacks' behalf in late December of 2023, it was a big deal.
I've been talking to TOs on his behalf for like 6 months. I'm not going to name any of the TOs, but I literally tried to mediate with him and TOs.
While it's true that Cody advocated for Hacks' unban in private, the way that he was doing it is what I have a problem with. Please, man, can you open up a conversation about this with top players? I actually don't deserve this fate. It's not a fucking permaban, dude. I keep telling you this. You're operating with different working knowledge. Just take the break. Trust me, the only reason it's stated as a permaban is to heighten the sentence from indefinite, which the only way to go up is perma. It's optics. You're not actually permabanned. You're banned until you take the fucking break. Cody, please help me, bro. I need this to be overturned immediately. Cody leaked this DM during one of his streams responding to detractors, and the implications of this are far bigger than I think he realized. He essentially exposed that, according to his conversations, organizers lied about permanently banning Hacks to coerce him to go to therapy, and if he did, they would unban him. And the 20K that Cody was offering was for that explicit purpose. First off, this can't be true, because people like Mikey made it very clear the ban was permanent, and there's no guarantee that wasn't the case from other TOs, except for maybe Genesis. Secondly, none of you are qualified to be making this decision.
We were all so drastically underqualified to deal with this type of situation. I made an entire post saying we probably shouldn't be talking about his mental illness and playing armchair psychologist, and I myself was guilty of that. I made a tweet longer about that recently. I don't know what that guy wants. None of us are psychiatrists. Like, nobody knew how to handle this properly. Forget nobody knew. Nobody was qualified to handle this, man. Like, you know how many times I had to just blindly say, trust me, trust me, trust me, you'll be back. You just gotta listen to me for a little bit. And I couldn't offer him a timeline directly.
And that's like probably devastating for his mental health. Every time he tried to get help or anything of that sort, he just said, I just need to be unbanned. And that's just like, that wasn't it. That was never it.
And I find it odd how their side claims that unbanning him wouldn't have solved anything, but in the same breath, think that forcing someone to go to therapy is a cure-all solution. Please, Cody, I need help. Just trust me, bro. I'm completely unqualified. But if I know one thing, it's that being unbanned, which to be clear is the only thing you're asking for, definitely won't help your mental health. Holy shit, Dr. Cody, you fucking nailed it.
It didn't quite work. Sure, we know it didn't work in a result standpoint. My argument is that the other one probably would have been worse. None of us are psychiatrists. Like, nobody knew how to handle this properly. The other one probably would have been worse.
Video games are the reason I didn't go insane during my childhood, and I never would have lived without them. Did Cody just say he wouldn't have lived without video games? What is this guy, mentally ill? Well, guess we gotta ban him and dangle it in front of his face until he goes to therapy for half a year. Rules are rules.
It sucks not knowing if there was like a way to get a better outcome. Because like, dude, I just wanted him to have a fucking life outside of Melee too.
Dude, I wanted him to have a fucking life.
The only thing I wanted for him was the dude to have a life. And it felt like he didn't have a life in Melee or out of Melee right now.
Why does what you all wanted for him factor into how you handle conduct issues?
I will take care of it if you shut up for 3 months and just go to therapy, do your stuff. I know you're working on yourself, and he still didn't do it. Even after I said, here's money, here's all the stuff you need. I made an entire post saying we probably shouldn't be talking about his mental illness and playing armchair psychologist, and I myself was guilty of that.
I can't think of anything more narcissistic or manipulative than using an unjust ban from a competitive video game to then impose your own will on someone and force them to go to therapy while controlling what they're allowed to say.
And then I talked with the TOs, and I was like, yeah, he should probably be back at this point. Obviously, put him on a short leash in case he does something stupid like a fucking video again.
Put him on a short leash. That's how you talk about a dog, not your good friend. God forbid he upload a fucking video talking about his opinion. Who are we banning him to protect again? Because it's not the attendants, certainly not the spectators. Oh, right, it's for the guy who retired from playing the game. Right, got it. That makes sense.
It does feel very weird to know that I might never play Melee again, like competitively.
Leffen barely even plays Melee anymore.
This is some necessary context. As a little Smash history lesson, this panel was set up with Dr. K, a practicing psychiatrist, to see how the Smash community could move forward with conduct management after the mass wave of allegations.
I don't know, like, what someone in that situation does. Like, how do they learn how to stop?
A lot of therapy with somebody that actually holds you accountable and doesn't just tell you nice things about yourself. I don't know. That's my recommendation.
Look at how smug she is, with that shit-eating grin. Dr. Piggy was the face of the COC panel, which handled Smash conduct before dissolving in 2020 due to an influx of reports and their inability to handle the stress and workload.
So the code of conduct was created through the community leadership. We consulted lawyers, did lots of research on it. We have this super thorough system to process cases, but it turns out that the need is enormous. With the amount of reports we get, we cannot process in a fair manner. When Dr. K asked, like, what do we do next? That's really hard for me to answer because I've been the backbone of a lot of the code of conduct initiatives and I'm getting burnt out, guys. I've spent too many nights crying in the shower, getting messages from abusers. It takes a village and we need a village.
Of course the COC didn't work. You got Miss HR department over here crying in a shower for having to do the job she signed up to do.
Oh, that's the stuff. That hits the spot.
This might have been from 2020, but you can see based off of Cody's statements during this time and his interactions with hacks that he took a very similar approach to Dr. Piggy. But now Cody wants to point the finger at therapists and the hospital that discharged him and directly blames them for his death.
You know what he told me? That his therapist approved him seeing him once every other week. How insane is that? Whoever that person is, that person needs to have their fucking medical license revoked unless Hacks was blatantly lying to me, which I don't think he was. That's beyond insane. That's like, you killed someone. You fucking killed therapy's expensive, bro. Dude, there's no way he didn't have Medicaid.
Just out of morbid curiosity, let's revisit these psychiatrists that Smash players previously confided in.
I think that Healthy Gamer and Dr. K have done a lot of really great work in destigmatizing mental health.
And see what he has to say on the topic.
Most of the suicidal men that I work with, their mind isn't malfunctioning. They genuinely have a life that is no longer worth living. They're looking at things and objectively realizing that there's no way out of the situation. They have nowhere to turn to. And the number one thing that correlates with it is not mental illness, but is a sense of thwarted belongingness. But basically what happens is what causes people to kill themselves is they try to connect with others and they get rejected. So it's specifically a very specific research term called thwarted belongingness. So I try to belong to a group, and that group, or multiple groups usually, will thwart my attempts to join the tribe, to join the community.
Wait. So you're telling me that ostracizing someone who wants to be a part of your community so they can feel like they belong somewhere and have a place in society can lead to them wanting to kill themselves? What a novel idea! If only he made that blatantly obvious several times, this all could have been avoided. But sadly, I've been informed by a bunch of unqualified gamers that there was nothing we could do. And just letting him play a video game would have actually made things worse.
No, but the thing is, I understand what they're talking about, because, like, realistically, if we all agreed to not go to events for a while, I do think that they'd have to let him back. Also, you're acting like a boycott would have actually changed anything. You know what it might have done? It might have killed off a fucking tournament and made it so that it couldn't run for another series. If we all agreed to not go to events for a while, I do think that they'd have to let him back. It seems like people just wanted us to publicly defend them, but that wouldn't have done anything. Like, I don't think they understand that would have done nothing.
Striking would have got him unbanned. Striking wouldn't have got him unbanned. Publicly defending him would have done absolutely nothing. How do you reconcile all these statements at the same time? Isn't it convenient how any action that required you to actually stand up for your friend wouldn't have worked? Wow, that's so crazy.
We don't handle things publicly for the exact reason of what's happening now. Can you not see what happens when things go public? Like, can you not look in front of you for 2 seconds and see what happens? I think we all could have said something. The question is, what would have actually accomplished? Was it going to be worth the backlash and the pressure it put on everyone? And would it actually have gotten him unbanned?
Ah, there it is. You weren't doing it privately for Hax's sake. You were doing it to avoid getting backlash. Because the second you needed some help and someone in your corner, what did you do? You're begging Mewtwo King to make a public tweet defending you.
They only don't shit on Mewtwo King because he tweeted about stuff. Tweeting didn't do anything. I actually worked on this shit. Fuck you. Jason, I'm actually going to need your help at some point. The amount of people who are coming after me saying that I didn't help Hax, I'm going to probably need someone to back up, one, the fact that I offered him like 20 grand. I'll show you the direct receipt for that. I know we talked about it. And two, the fact that I've been trying to get him unbanned for like 2 years. I'm going to probably need like a direct clip or something at some point because it's gotten like so bad that I can't even make a tweet without people just shitting on me about Hax at this point.
Wow. It must suck not being able to make a tweet without people shitting on you. That's a unique problem to you, and I'm certain there's no parallel here whatsoever.
No, I'm definitely great at manipulating people.
Clearly, Hax didn't agree with you, so stop pretending like you and all the top players not having a backbone was somehow a service to him. Did you also avoid saying his name during your Battle of BC interview after he passed away for his mental health?
Conch doing all right?
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't get to warm up on it as much as I wanted to. I obviously sliced my finger open, and so I only got it last week, and there were like extenuating circumstances, obviously, this week. So I barely played at all.
Extenuating circumstances? Your good friend just passed away, and you describe it as extenuating circumstances that are inconveniencing your play. Somebody get this guy Friend of the Year award. To be honest, I'm even more shocked that you didn't mention the 20K. I really gotta ask, Cody, did you just forget how you spent weeks grandstanding during 2020 about how important it was to use your platform to speak up for injustices and how effective it was for a leading figure to set a good example? Or does that only apply when you're defending your ex-girlfriend?
Leffen was on my side a lot, Ludwig backed me up, Mango, all these people, they spoke out on it. Do you know how much power that has? And that doesn't require Nintendo. That doesn't require going through the trouble of like trying to structurize some kind of legal system within Smash. Like that alone has so much power. And because those people spoke up, everyone else who's following them sees those things and now they're aware of it.
Tweeting didn't do anything.
Importance of speaking out was one of the main topics in this live stream that you engaged in and supported in chat for the full 4 hours.
I've heard there's a lot of difficulty getting TOs to like work with each other. I'm hoping that this will get some of them to play nice.
I can tell you right now that like the TOs are talking.
Good. That's good.
Okay, good. Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah. I don't think Smash can govern itself.
It's great that we finally have undeniable proof after 5 years that you all accomplished nothing, didn't learn anything, and the only thing you seem to be good at is circle jerking over how hard it is to actually do the thing you keep telling people that you care a lot about. So just a quick recap, Cody. You lied to Hax about fucking your mom for sympathy after you got with his ex, said he should be banned for a year when you got pissed he was joking about it. Then after 2 years, you try to help him get unbanned by telling him it's all an optics game and he has to take your money and go to therapy or else they won't unban him. And while you were doing all this invaluable work, it absolutely, without a single doubt, had to be done privately. Because in your professional opinion, as a guy who plays video games for a living, any public show of support for him would have poorly affected his mental health. Did I get all that right? Feel free to chime in whenever you think I missed something important here. You realize if you were a good friend and not a manipulative piece of shit, going public with your support of Hax doesn't always mean I'm going to say negative shit and hold this 20K I offered you over your head and hurt your public image for refusing my ultimatum. You could have just said something nice about him, like, I don't know, how you didn't think he was a threat and it'd be nice to have him back at events? I don't know. Maybe that's asking too much.
A bunch of us tried to help. We just don't know what we were supposed to do. Go on Twitter and then make other people depressed? That's what you want us to do? Seriously? If we all agreed to not go to events for a while, I do think that they'd have to let him back.
Oh geez, was that good enough, Cody? Was that thorough enough for you? I hope I didn't disappoint. Now that pretty much brings everyone up to speed on Hax's ban. From here on out, I'm going to be discussing the cultural and ideological issues that have contributed to the Smash community's continual downfall. That's right, we're getting political. Woo! The Technicals Politics channel. This is also where I'm going to be talking about specific subgroups and topics like the funeral, Reddit, Melee Hell, politics, you get it. However, I don't think I can appropriately convey the message that these people need to hear in this format, so excuse me while I switch shit up mid-video. Look, I'm gonna do that thing. I do. Watch this, watch this. I use sponge here so I can focus the frame. Perfect every time. Let's go Reddit! I love Reddit. I don't know if you know this, but me and the Smash Reddit, we go way back. Today we're actually focusing on the Melee Reddit. There isn't a mod on that subreddit that I think deserves a spotlight more than Duffy. Remember how Simpleflips' video got deleted for being low effort and unrelated to competitive play? They used that power with an iron fist.
You don't know what you're talking about, and I kindly ask you to edit or remove this comment. Saying that Hax never saw compassion or support erases and downplays all of the support he got throughout his life from the NYC Melee scene. It is disrespectful to them, and disrespectful to Hax to erase that. Pay your respects, but don't talk like you knew him.
Duffy did not know Hax at all, by the way. I don't think Hax also would have gave a fuck about disrespecting NYC Melee, but okay. Here's Duffy also flexing his unqualified opinion on mental health by comparing playing Melee to being addicted to fentanyl. How the fuck do you compare playing a video game to taking drugs? It is not the same. It is not the same as being an alcoholic or a fent addict. The moderation is very strict, okay? They delete comments all the time if it goes against like a narrative or insights, drama, or fucking whatever. But he also just flat out refuses to mod comments from people agreeing with him when they cross a line, or just straight up imply that other people should kill themselves. Mods, can we please do something about the influx of idiots and concern trolls who show up with the same format username? First word _ second word numbers. I'm sure you're up to your ears in bullshit right now, but it's so hard not to tell these people to kill themselves.
New accounts are filtered by a minimum Reddit karma. If there's something that's not filtered, please report stuff.
I've seen you mod shit for way less. How does this one pass the bar? He's like fighting back, trying to tell people to kill themselves.
Fuck technicals, and every single gremlin who listens to what that dumb fuck says. Look at Duffy watering at the mouth here for more drama. Is there a new thing we should know about? Turns out the OP was complaining because I called out Salt for putting their bulge on full display at an all-ages Smash event. And then in a reply to that, few overstand implies that I should be triggered to kill myself. Right there, right under Duffy's post. But since he thinks I'm a freak, he's gonna let that one slide. Here's Duffy trying to police someone who actually knew hacks by telling them to grieve somewhere else because he didn't like the negativity. This guy's post also coincidentally got locked. Sometimes people need to get things out for their own closure. That's how I read this. That's something for a personal journal or diary then, in my opinion. Not something for randos to comment on. Parentheses, I am also a rando here. He automatically thinks he has the moral high ground by default. So he doesn't even realize how much of a massive piece of shit he's being here. And if they let guys like this be a moderator, I think you can understand what kind of a cesspool that entire community has cultivated. The final boss of Redditors is King Hippo 42, who writes these long-ass blog posts about hacks, blaming everything on his struggle with mental illness and using his situation to complain about a culture war. He's like their messiah. Every time he posts, oh my god, this is so well written. The nuance is just, there's just so much nuance. They love these stupid ass write-ups because it helps dissolve them of any accountability and convinces them that they were completely justified in how they treated hacks like a social pariah. Stuff like this is also why Redditors can't exist on a platform like Twitter, because when they start losing these arguments, they realize they can't downvote you out of existence or call up a mod to abuse their power and silence you. Just face it, you lost in the marketplace of ideas. So pack it up and take your ass to Blue Sky. If you know about Melee Hell, then you know that it used to be one of the great stomping grounds for Melee's most legendary shitposters. But now, it's an over-moderated hellscape that only exists for thirst traps, clips, coal, and an emotional dumping ground for the creator Michael Dominic, who is way past his prime. Despite having me blocked, he's spent the past few weeks making fun of Hax's death, blaming me, and harassing his mom. But he posted a sick clip of Roy Mustang crying when he passed away, so that kind of makes up for everything. How sad is it that not even your own Facebook group supports you anymore? The admins on the Facebook page outright banned discussion of Hax's ban. When someone called for reform, the comments got turned off. Hashtag justice for Aziz, comments turned off. Melee Hell used to have cultural relevance in the community and stood up against the censorship on Facebook. But now they're doing it to themselves for free. And no one gives a fuck about Facebook or this washed up Twitter account. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I know you clicked on this timestamp, so welcome. There's a few YouTube creators who have chosen to speak on this topic.
Oh, let's talk about what I really love to talk about, which is technical.
Yes.
I made a non-clickbait thumbnail and a non-clickbait title about technicals. And what did it say?
And after looking at what they had to say, I'm 100% certain they have no idea what they're talking about. Commentary recently has devolved into, let me give my surface level opinion about everything, and whoever gives me attention first is getting turned into a 5-hour live stream. Well, today's your lucky day, kids, because I'm gonna provide your paycheck for the week. And our good friend Tommy C has graciously volunteered his free emotional labor.
Who did technicals get off? Sky, right? And did he do the Nero video? Did we establish that? The Naro video?
He did a Nairo video. He was talking about something about the Nairo ban.
Was it the defense or the ban itself?
Double check it.
All right, okay, we don't know.
Who did he get off? Sky? Did he do the Nairo? Mayo? Nahiro? Nabeyo? Was it a defense? Oh geez, Tommy, I don't know. It's only one of my biggest videos ever that pops up as the top Google search, and I literally sell shirts with the slogan Ban Nairo. You tell me, dumbass.
All right, okay, we don't know.
It was a ban appeal video. Sorry.
It was a ban appeal video. Another guy that was what? Talking underage kids, right?
I think underage boy.
Whatever.
Shit in a hotel room.
Okay, so that guy didn't get off. He's still banned, correct? The responsible thing to do was to keep Cax out of those tournaments because he was clearly emotionally unhinged by no fault of his own. If they'd left this guy in and he'd have done something, that would have been all their asses, deservedly so. And considering the fact that he eventually stepped in front of a train, unfortunately, that proved their point.
Do you guys think that Tommy even knows that Hax was going to events for like a full year? Probably not, right?
Do you remember the guy that Technicals was pushing to write a completely unhinged, unfactual, and mentally ill piece about this other Spanish player called Leffen? You told him, Hax, what you're doing here is great, and not, Hax, buddy, please don't release that. Yeah, that's right, Technicals. That's what the problem was. You weren't a friend. Use Zero and use this guy too. Absolutely. And I can see, I don't know who cares what your motivations were?
You base this off of nothing. You're just saying shit. But here's proof of Hax telling me he did it himself, me being surprised at the upload, and here's clips of me criticizing his arguments like a day after the video dropped. I agree that he said really shit, and we're gonna go over that, but I like the overall arguments that he made. I really disagree with how he executed it.
The biggest red flag of all, however, is something that no one would have ever guessed.
This was stupid. He could have cut this entire part. This is where he starts going through avatars, and then the whole Death Note meme. Justin Wang was memeing on him for saying this shit too.
You said that was legit.
This was stupid. He could have cut this entire part.
You passed it off like it wasn't mentally ill, like it was good.
This was stupid.
I remember seeing your tweets when I followed you. Boy, Hax got Leffen now. Hey, Tacticals, did he get him now? How's he doing now?
He does make some good points in this video that I agree with. He also makes some shitty points that I disagree with. I think Leffen deserves a lot of criticism. Do I think he deserves every criticism from this video? In particular, not really. I just don't like people immediately disregarding everything he said in this video because of some sound bites.
How's he doing now? I don't know who cares what your motivations were?
Knowing you probably skipped to this part of the video instead of doing your due diligence. So here's also the screenshots of me telling him not to make videos from the earlier segment that you didn't watch, and proof of me telling him to distance himself for good measure. You're welcome.
Piece of shit Technicals was pushing our community to get on board with these videos that he was making on Leffen. Like, he wanted to be on our crew so we could root for his bullshit.
He keeps framing it as if I asked them for their help. Hey, Tommy, why the fuck would I ever need your help? Breaking news! I don't know if you've noticed, but you run a dead channel. I should write this segment off on my taxes because this entire response is considered charity.
I think Technicals was one of the most talented guys I've ever spoken to. He was iDubbbz level. He was that talented. I'm sorry, Technicals is smart. He's creative. He's funny. He's not an idiot.
I think Technicals is smart. He's sexy. He's got a peanut butter complexion and a BBC Junior to boot. Wow, thanks, Tommy. That means a lot coming from a drunk, washed-up live streamer.
There's two types of friends in this world. Those that bail you out, and the ones that are sitting right next to you when you get bailed out.
Too bad I can't say the same for you. And the only reason I'm giving you the most attention you'll get until you let Keem glaze you like a donut is because your responses are so factually inaccurate and fueled by blind alcoholic rage that you make the perfect punching bag to get my point across. And I didn't even have to do extra research to do it. Maybe next time pick someone in your own weight class like Tipster or Wings of Redemption before you decide to embarrass yourself again. While we're on the topic of fights, this guy named Rusty, who is the second person to voluntarily embarrass himself by delivering a speech at Hax's funeral, had this to say about me afterwards. Took everything for me to leave the room and not swing on him. Fuck that fucking asshole ruining the mood and vibe of a funeral with jokes and vengeance talk. What, you don't like jokes? So after I finished my speech and sat down, Mewtwo King played a little practical joke on me by pulling my beanie over my eyes and then tossing it over by Hungrybox. It was actually this same beanie, so imagine that. It was honestly kind of fucked up and actually really scared me in the moment, so I think Jason should be banned from Melee for the rest of his life. But I'm just joking. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. It was cool. I'm cool with Jason. No harm, no foul. But out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that Rusty, who was sitting next to Hungrybox, quickly tried to hide my beanie. A little fucking weird, but I had no idea I was dealing with a real thug at the time, so I didn't think much of it. Signaled to HBox, he didn't know where it was. So I walked up to Rusty and I asked him. Without saying a single word, he does this shit. The fuck? Okay. Then I think it was maybe Papa Dave eventually pointed out that it was underneath a chair, and I just grabbed it and went along with my day. I want to make it very clear, this guy did not speak to me once the entire 4 hours I was at the funeral home. I spoke to Hungrybox, Max Ketchum, Gimmer, a fuck ton of people there. I actually spoke to Gimmer for a while because I was thanking him for letting Hacks attend Xanadu, and then we just went over a bunch of other shit from past coverage, but that's not important. The point is that while we might have disagreed with each other, we talked like adults. This grown-ass man had beef with me that I didn't even know about, and the only thing he could think to do is hide my hat passive-aggressively and then vent about it online afterwards. My Emperor's Hockey bitched you so hard that all you could do was sit there clenching your fist, imagining what you'd do if you had an above-average testosterone level. As someone who was there and spoke, fuck technicals. Hacks is so much more than the drama. And you illustrate that by also making his funeral VOD about drama. Couldn't just leave it on Twitter, huh? Look at you being the bigger man. Since you're clearly very emotional about this, Hacks must have meant a lot to you, right? You know what? I'm gonna ignore Twitter and go for a nice bike ride in the sunshine, because that's what Aziz would have wanted people to do. Reflect on the good times, the good things about him. Hacks' legacy to me is that of a teacher, a resource, a kind hand to others, someone who welcomed new people in the scene. He would want to be remembered for his contributions, not his drawbacks. Wow, this is fucking beautiful. The only thing that could ruin it now is if I key searched his name on your account and somehow found you constantly talking shit about him when he was alive. You ever just go to a tournament to flex on Hacks' money? This is at least 3 times more interesting than anything Hacks has done in the last year. If an O-Tour did what Hacks did, no one would have given them 5 chances. Hacks hasn't ever apologized or explained why he lied to the Smash community about playing Falcon to get into Summit 2017. Hacks hasn't ever explained why he mass banned box users requesting tech support or order cancellations. Hacks was trying to turn the Melee scene into his personal army. This one is actually after he passed away, surprisingly, and so is this one. It's very interesting, the lineup of defenders of Hacks fighting the good fight. Scam Artist Mewtwo King, dubiously banned West Balls, Sex Pest Anti, Scam Artist NYC Furby. Who else is going to join the big game? Whatever happened to riding your bicycle in the sunshine? Did you get tired of that? Hey Hacks, when's the next Hacks' nightclub? Oh wait, skull emoji, laughing my ass off. And here's Rusty also defending Hacks getting doxxed last July. You are a two-faced pussy who couldn't even look me in the eyes when I talked to you. And even if you did muster up the courage to do something, you severely underestimate how many people supported me there. We had like the free Hacks Secret Service all in attendance, and I wouldn't have had to lift a finger besides to pose for my photo op behind the podium. I hit one of these real quick, surrounded by a sea of red Adidas, and I'd be the president of Melee faster than you could say my B. Oh, this guy's also a fucking weirdo. There was this guy named N Shadow who knew Hacks, but decided not to go to his funeral because I was there and other people, and then accused me of spreading genuine Nazi shit during my speech. First off, you're a terrible fucking friend. And given this decision, I question the legitimacy of that claim altogether. Secondly, the National Socialist German Workers' Party is not interchangeable with thing I don't like. If you are someone who does this, I'd bet money that you, 1, have a Reddit account, but also that you know very little about politics. However, that's irrelevant because nothing I said was inherently indicative of a specific political party anyways. Unless you think integrity, consistency, and transparency for conduct management in a video game community is synonymous with Nazis. But then we'd have a way bigger problem to deal with. I know you're itching for it, but we'll get to the politics in a second. I wanted to first quickly address the fake mom conspiracy. I knew that she was real the whole time because I was pulling the strings, baby. No, because when she asked me if I could go to the funeral, I told her I couldn't make it on such short notice. I didn't have the money to take like an impromptu trip to New Jersey. So she actually helped get me out to the funeral. She helped pay for that. So thank you again for that. I really appreciate it. It was honestly fantastic. It was a great experience, and I'm glad I was able to make it. Thank you to all you guys for being so cool when I met you in person, except for Rusty. You are a massive pussy. When I got there and talked to her in person, I was shocked at how much deep lore she knew about the community. Like, Mama Hacks was locked in. She's as much of a Melee player as Hacks was. Like, no doubt in my mind that she can wave shine. We're gonna be seeing Mama Hacks in top 8 very soon, but the timeline did not seem to agree. And I understand where some of it was coming from. I see a world where some technicals freak reached out to his actual mom to post the GoFundMe and is now using his account to continue the grift. No mother in their 60s talks like this, and uses Twitter this much. If it is his actual mom, that is more disgusting. Let your son rest. What is this Doctor Strange-ass prediction? How many worlds do you see? How many possibilities are there? Is this the one reality where we get Hax's mom to shitpost on the timeline? Oh, dope. Here's our boy Rusty again. To those wondering if Hax's mom is actually running the Twitter account and whether or not he got hacked, I'm going to the funeral and asking her. Edit, I'm going to the funeral anyway, but now I'm asking given what's been posted recently. I knew Aziz, and I'm honoring the dead. I am saying this with total respect to Jeanette. I don't think it's her behind those tweets. Did you get confirmation on this one way or the other? Based on what happened, I'm wrong and sad. It's okay, Rusty. Just go ride your bike. You'll be fine. This guy, in response to someone asking if Hax was actually dead and if there was an obituary on the day of Hax's livestream funeral, he said, I don't know. The whole thing is sus. This is like when Lyrics DM'd Too Mad to check if he was dead. I don't know, man. This seems kind of sus. Literally the day of his funeral. The day of his funeral. It's fucking idiot, bro.
Hello everyone, my tag is Mech, reporting on everything that I like to suggest for the Melee community and hopefully to be featured on Technical's video.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for this segment to get clipped out of context. Watch how this goes over people's head, like almost instantaneously. This is more a general problem with the internet, but it's extremely relevant to this discussion and it pisses me off, so I'm going to talk about it real quick. When something happens that you don't like, you can either categorize it as a right-wing problem or a left-wing problem. You could pour a bowl of cereal, find out there's no milk left in the fridge, and then blame it on Bidenomics or Trump's tariffs. And some genius will unironically find a way to agree with you, even though you just forgot to pick it up on your last grocery run. That is the level of discourse I'm forced to engage with daily. In this case, because the Smash community is predominantly left-wing, and it's one of the main things that I talk about, and for the most part, I'm against them, they rationalize their hatred of me by accusing me and others of being right-wing, far-right, a national socialist. Technicals and Manalord being allowed at Hax's funeral and using their eulogies to own the libs is a new low I didn't even know we could reach. That funeral was just so disrespectful to his legacy. He would have hated the way it ran and who spoke. Right-wing grifters took it over.
Hax dies and then we want to like put all the blame on trans people. That's what they do.
Conservative, fascist, Christo-fascist. The loudest people about this topic are also all right-wing grifters for some fucking reason. Spend 2 minutes on the trending tab and you're hit with Technicals and his supporters, a verified account called Fox News SSB, known bigots, and people reposting 4chan screenshots about the situation. I am genuinely depressed about the Melee community at the moment. The hack stuff has literally caused a Trump-style reality schism in the community. People aren't interested in the truth. Nazi, nationalist, ultra-nationalist, authoritarian. Why are we having like a far-right movement within Melee? Technicals. As someone somewhat involved with Melee in New England, I personally knew multiple of the sign-offs on that ban that wouldn't have done so without evidence. Evidence I didn't care to see. Fucking hate what Technicals did to the community. Guy is the libs of TikTok of the Smash community. Here we have a couple of left-wing users on Blue Sky actually noticing this pattern and being fed up with getting painted as right-wing for no reason. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely an audience for a right-wing grift, if that's the route I wanted to go. Woke Smasher gets 3-0'd by facts and logic. That would go hard. That would go insanely hard. But the major problem is that I don't give a fuck about politics. If you haven't noticed, there is literally a right-wing sector of the Smash community that I don't promote at all, despite being asked to on several occasions. You know what I told them? That introducing your unnecessary polarizing politics into a video game community is inevitably going to alienate participants and cause a problem for sponsors. If you somehow make Mario punching Donkey Kong about hating trans people or sex reassignment surgeries, I think you're both obnoxious as fuck. Yeah, I check in with the Melee community for their nuanced take on Israel-Palestine. Yeah, hello? Yeah, I was just checking to see if anyone's asked Mango about his stance on abortion recently. No? He's still just playing Falco. Oh, okay. Because my job is on the internet, I'm forced to see shit I don't care about every single day. And on top of that, we have Pikachu playing politicians whose only credentials is saying the N-word, giving me a lecture on infectious diseases, and Kyle Rittenhouse. So even if I did want to sit here and espouse my political beliefs, no one would or should give a flying fuck what a random YouTuber or Smash player thinks about global or economic policy.
Oh, clip it, checkmate. He said his opinions don't matter. Another dub for the Democrats.
I also don't know why you guys act surprised that there's an entire right-wing Smash community when you explicitly ban people for being openly right-wing.
So I was actually banned officially. I'm not bullshitting here. From my perspective, I was banned from this community from attending events because of a 5-word tweet that I put out. The 5 words were trans women are not.
Mamma mia!
That's what I said.
The main reason as to why I am supposedly banned is because of politics. The Smash community is filled with many people that claim to be something that they are not. They claim to be women while they are
Mamma mia!
And I am very open about my beliefs. The Luckbox Esports article said that I have a religious delusion.
And as soon as my local TOs put up that I was going to be potentially banned, for things that they found on my Twitter that went against kind of the wokest, leftist agenda, because, you can't speak out against that. Most of the TOs in the mob and Smash align with that. So I said some things counter to that on Twitter, and that's reason enough for me to have been banned from my local scene.
Do you not understand the basics of social psychology? They don't just magically disappear and stop playing after you ban them.
And that same day, I went to some of my friends and said, well, it's time to start a counter scene to the Smash scene, because what else can I do? I've gotten back into Smash, I love it, I like it, and there's something wrong going on here, so Mana Monthly was created that day.
If you have no roadmap to redemption, no guarantee that they can return if they change their behavior, and will forever treat them like an irredeemable piece of shit.
I know the TOs don't care, but that's actually my point. See, they offer no solution for somebody like me. And they just say, yeah, just go away, just move on. I don't accept just moving on just like that for something that I put so many years into. I put passion into it, and they're gonna just frame me out as a racist for their own amusement.
They're going to keep playing the game, but now they're pissed at you specifically and are going to be even more right-wing in spite of you. You've effectively created your own radicalization pipeline, and then soy face when you see more political extremism. No bullshit, I'm being 100% genuine when I tell you this. The solution is to get rid of politics entirely, not to shoot up a fucking signal flare to your opposition every time you feel your worldview being slightly challenged. If you did that one simple thing, you wouldn't have to deal with a 2-party system and radical political activism in a Nintendo party game.
Yo, Zion, I don't really know you. You wish you were me, bro. Stop being so fucking transphobic. Maybe we'd let you back in this fucking community. Bitch!
But you've made it very clear that you prefer engaging in radical political activism. You are all incredibly naive, and I'm certain that even when you know the answer, you will continue to sabotage yourself, and nothing will change anytime soon. Oh, would you look at the time? Whoa, I can't believe Technicals in his new video said how he hates gay people. I mentioned this concept kind of briefly and almost jokingly in the Victims of Leffen video, but it is a serious and prominent problem when it comes to how they handle differing ideas and handling conduct. Both before and after Hax passed away, people somehow think it's entirely my fault Hax's situation was mishandled. If you want to make that argument, you'd have to ignore how the Smash community has existed for over 2 decades, and in that time frame has failed to create a centralized form of conduct management every single time.
I don't think Smash can govern itself.
That can't all possibly be my fault, right? I haven't even been here that long. I got globally banned 5 years ago for making fun of Esam and his wife. Which I don't regret at all, by the way. It was totally worth it, and I'd do it again. In fact, I literally did it again just over a month ago. So let me get this straight. If this is your argument, then you're telling me that the community for the highest selling fighting game of all time gets derailed by one banned, modestly sized YouTuber, and that doesn't make you start to question the competence of the people in charge? Okay, I'm just saying. Just seems like a lot to take in, but if that's the narrative you want to roll with, I can't stop you. If you didn't want me to be the spokesperson for free hacks, here's a novel idea. Maybe you should have said something for your friend and helped him out of a shitty situation.
There's a lot of nuance here that you have to take with a grain of salt, and if I have to become the guy that does that investigative work and is the arbiter of all of this, like, I don't know. I just don't want that to be me. You know what I'm saying?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Yeah, maybe I could have said free hacks a few more times. Maybe I should have said it on Twitter instead of being a giant pussy. But I can say 4 hacks now and mean it and push it because we can prevent this from happening.
I'm only using these clips of Hungrybox to kind of illustrate a broader point here because I think he said it best. I don't think conversations had to happen privately. I think they were held privately because Smash players are massive pussies and want to avoid getting criticized. That's why on Reddit they're now banning links from Twitter and planning an exodus to Blue Sky. Or really just anywhere they don't have to see other people's opinions.
You know what we need to do? Honest to God, we have to move back to Reddit.
I know I've given Juan a lot of shit over the years, busting his balls, but as a man, I have a newfound respect for him. Nobody has genuinely felt as remorseful as I think he does. He apologized directly to Hax's mom, admitted his faults multiple times, which as someone who already helped Hax by letting him join his tournaments, he really didn't have to. He could have flown under the radar very easily and just waited out the storm like everyone else. But he didn't. As someone who probably knows what it's like to get alienated by his peers, there's a certain level where I can empathize with him and understand why he might not want to be put back in that position. But that's definitely not the case for everybody. That's a very unique situation. Don't use Juan. Don't use Juan now. You're not Hungrybox, okay? And no, I didn't just learn empathy at 27.
Before I let you out of here though, one last thing. Can I get a free hacks?
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. Get out of here. I'm not trying to get you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. I can't make a joke. That's crazy.
I'll see you later, man.
Get out of here before you get canceled.
I was gonna do this last podcast.
Get out of here, Zane. Bye-bye.
This is why no Melee players want to come on the podcast, and he's asking why.
After that infamous clip of Zane with EE, he went on to say free Hax was damaging, Hax needed help, not from him, of course, and then sympathized with how hard TOing is and vouched for their good faith nature. I used to run my own event back in the day. It's not that fucking hard unless you're running like a super major. I can understand the logistics of that being a lot more complicated, but every TO's job is not fucking hard. You set up a bracket and you announce matches. Whoop-de-fucking-do. But saying all of that made him reminiscing on how much Hax loved Melee after his passing ring pretty hollow, especially considering he peddled the same narrative that kept him banned for no reason. Unbanning him serves as a band-aid for a much larger problem. Who gives a fuck if it's a band-aid? You give a kid a Spider-Man band-aid and they're like one of the fucking Avengers. They're ecstatic. They're all over the place. They're good as new. I think we should have tried that. It could be Dora or whatever, just some kind of band-aid, some kind of adhesive strip. Maybe if he got a band-aid once in a while, he wouldn't have gotten an infection in his amputated leg. Clearly, in hindsight, you guys were wrong the entire time. But the only one man enough to apologize and admit it, again, is Hungrybox. Oh yeah, Zane's post kind of reminds me of how in Moki's remembrance post, he says, "In the last couple of years, there are things that I regret and wish that I'd have done differently, and frustrations that I wish I'd made a better effort to voice differently. But they came from a place of care and wanting to see someone who I called a friend and an inspiration succeed." Dude, you saw a post of a tournament series giving Hax a chance, and you took a joke out of context to quote retweet that post to smear him and try to keep him banned.
The best way to get me unbanned is to make other players look bad. We have to be able to directly compare my behavior to other people. Show them that I'm not that bad after all. Yo, that's like the best way if you want the truth. Get those Moki clips out.
Then you responded that you knew it was a joke after he apologized to you and said it wouldn't happen again, which he didn't have to do. And then you said how he could tweet about growth and reflection all he wanted, but you were not seeing it. Just shut the fuck up, Moki. No one is buying this. Why don't you go join Salt and tell someone to himself at a tournament again? Fucking yourself. As someone who speaks up on these topics a lot, sometimes I genuinely wonder how things would have gone if Etika was still around, because we would have been in the same kind of sphere. He was a big fan of Drama Alert, I'll tell you that. Because when I think about his famous motto, at least he wasn't a bitch and always spoke his mind. he was actually my main motivation to try to stop this from happening. Because even though at the time I would have had no impact, I still felt insanely embarrassed and regretted that I didn't take it seriously. But I understand that not everyone learns their lesson, and it's way easier to just sit there and watch me get all the hate while you pretend like your private Discord chats are actually moving the needle.
I think people thought that like nobody talked about it. I promise you, every top player, TO, we've all had discussions about it. We just didn't do it online.
Oh, dude. Zane and I, do you know how many phone calls Zane and I had trying to figure out the best way to navigate how to deal with hacks and try to like help him out? Literal 2-hour phone calls at least once a month for like a year straight.
If you think I'm being hyperbolic like Leffen, take a look at how fucking delusional some of these Smash players are, who have decided to build an evil caricature of me in their minds. Most of these are after he passed and after I attended the funeral and gave my my speech. If I ever see you justify anything Technicals or any adjacent Smash Groiper does, I am cutting you off. There is no middle ground in this. You are just a bad person. Very nuanced take. Nice. Technicals should be put in some sort of prison for the amount of shit he has purposefully omitted for clout, though. Fuck that guy. Like what? They always say this shit, but then they don't provide a source. Can you please tell me what you were talking about? I hope Technicals... full stop. I'm not finishing that sentence, even though I want to so bad. Maybe if you were on Blue Sky, you could finish it. I blame you way more than Leffen for Hax's death. Leffen did some bad things that pushed Hax out, but Technicals needed to keep Aziz a pariah to use him as a bludgeon. I hope in hell you understand the amount of blood that's on your hands. Again, how is me trying to get his community to accept him again, keeping him as a social pariah? I didn't fucking ban him. That wasn't my decision. Can't help but note that not a single person who is using Hax's terrible situation to dunk on TOs is an actual Melee player. They are just good little foot soldiers for Lord Technicals. Lord Technicals. Yeah, I'm fucking supervillain over here. They do not actually care for the well-being of Hax, they just want their little points. Gross. Okay, well, what about you? What about you guys? Because I've been on Hax's side and advocating for him since 2021. A lot of you didn't start saying shit in favor of him or anything nice about him until after he passed away. So who the fuck here doesn't care about his well-being exactly? Oh, this person privated their account. I can't see that anymore. Any mutuals that still follow Technicals in the next 24 hours are catching a block. Was this the most important thing that happened on March 25th? This was the thing you need to make a post about? You had to curate your following list. That had over 700 likes. A lot of these have a lot of likes on them. Should have been Technicals. Sorry, not sorry. Rest in peace, Aziz. Couldn't just say rest in peace. Couldn't just say that last part. Had to make it about me first, somehow. This one confused me. There was this post that made its way around the internet from Smash Sisters, and a lot of people were kind of poking fun of it because a majority of the people in the photo were trans women. I didn't say anything about it. I personally didn't give a fuck. Did I miss something? Why is there Smash Sisters discourse? Full Bloom posted a picture of the crew battle, and the Technicals mob found it and starting turfing. You realize there's other people than me and my subscribers on the internet, right? These people have their own agency. Why do you only think in in-group and out-group? It's such a low IQ indication.
Oh, our tribe good. Technicals bad. Smash Sister get bad. Technicals fault.
After the hack situation, Technicals and Manalord fans have been in full force spreading bigotry for literally zero reason. A lot of them don't even play Smash either, just have a weird vendetta against the scene in Leffen. Again, other people exist on the internet. What is this? What? This is exactly what they did to Hax. Holy shit, some random guy who also doesn't like Leffen sent him some weird threats. Hax doesn't like Leffen. It must be Hax's fan because he has a bigger number. Where's the bigger number? Wow, it's almost like whenever you let Technicals and drama baiters into a community, you get a whole lot of bigotry from people who don't play or care about the game, trying to find excuses to harass people. Again, I would like to reiterate, I said nothing about Smash Sisters. I'm not involved in this. I didn't like a tweet. I didn't quote retweet anything. I didn't retweet anything. And then it went viral. I don't know. The fuck do you want me to do about it? Need someone from the Smash community to fuck up Technicals IRL. Put a little fear into him. Lil Chud is out of control. Why? It's always someone else. It's never I'm gonna do it. It's never I gotta put some fear into them, because they know they're not going to. Can anybody help? Can anyone put some fear into him? Please! So Technical's gotta die, bro. Technical's speaking at Hax's funeral about the Smash community being the reason he's dead is pretty low and disgusting. Honestly hope someone beats his ass. Technical's being at Hax's funeral and spewing blasphemy in front of his embalmed corpse is a level of shame I can't even conceive, let alone digest. Somebody needs hands put on him at the bare minimum, and like soon, tomorrow, if not today. Someone needs to beat Technical's ass ASAP. Not Gorillionaire. Somebody, please! Can somebody beat this guy's ass? Anyone? Nobody? Fuck, man. That's how you know that my speech hit the right target audience, because these are the people who were crying about Leffen getting death threats, yet they're saying that I need to be killed. They don't see the irony of it. They're like, let's keep Hax banned for life because Leffen got death threats, but fucking kill this guy that I don't like, please. So because they dislike me, they justify wanting me assaulted, say I should be killed, I should die. Which, like, if I was Leffen, I would use this to, like, get some media coverage or something and fucking hide away in my house for like a week. But none of them are gonna do a fucking thing. It's so obvious. It's just shit talk on the internet. If you grew up playing games like Warzone, you would hear this stuff 24/7. This does not faze me. You gotta be pretty descriptive and accurate if you want to instill fear in somebody. But if this happened to Leffen at any point, they would cry their fucking eyes out and say you need to be banned for the rest of your life. None of these people are gonna have anything happen to them for saying this about me, because the people in charge agree with them, and there's no objective standard of behavior. It's not like a standard where, okay, you broke this is the punishment, it said it right there. No, it's, oh, someone I don't like broke this rule? Okay, now time to actually enforce our code of conduct. And it's so blatantly obvious that that's what's happening. There's absolutely no reason that this had to end like this. You all know you fucked up. I didn't have to make hours of video essays for you to realize that. But while Hax apologized month after month, where was the accountability for mishandling his situation in the first place? Instead of apologizing and maybe showing him a little bit of grace, they layered on new demands and punished Hax for being upset at them. In their attempt to reprimand him for perceived wrongdoings, they ironically proved his initial criticisms to hold true. Dangling his passion over his head to force him to go to therapy, issuing a gag order on all criticism of Leffen or discussion of his treatment, and all while providing no real guarantee or pathway to reintegrate as a member of their community. It would be easier to make a list of what isn't considered authoritarian here. If you guys learn one thing from this, let it be that sometimes you don't need to fix everything all at once. Sometimes a band-aid and friends who care about you really is enough. The Smash community denied him both. They knew exactly what he was asking for and chose to ignore him because they knew what was best. Did you get the result you wanted? Do you feel like you did everything right? Was your arrogance worth it? Do you feel like you won? Did you minimize harm and maximize happiness?
What a set. Hax Money out at 4th place at Genesis 7. Hungrybox moves on to face Mango. Hax played so well. I'm so proud of him. I really am. I mean, yeah, you're right. I've known him for more than 10 years. I've known him since he was a small boy. A small boy. And, you know, what a story. It's just like the spirit of Melee. So many of us have played the game for years and years and years and years, right, and we haven't really made it to the stage where we feel we can play. Right. And here he is.
Here he is. His last.
A testament to all of us who've worked so hard.
Yeah.
That's all I had left to say. Hax always did want to set the record straight, and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't at least pay my respects one last time. I haven't been able to sleep much because all I've been doing is going over information, reading documents, gathering clips, just knowing in the back of my head that none of it fucking matters. It doesn't matter. Nothing's gonna change here. I've been doing this for 5 years. 5 years, I've watched them not do a single fucking thing. I've watched them all stand on podiums and declare that there's going to be change, declare that there's going to be more effort put forth to handle conduct. For 5 years, they've done fuck all. There is nothing to show for it. And if the Smash community doesn't stop and take a hard look at themselves and fix the way that they deal with conduct, it won't be Nintendo that kills the game. It'll be a slow and painful road paved brick by brick with good intentions. Thank you guys for watching. I know it was a long video. And rest in peace, man.
Regardless of your former allegiances, whatever camp you're in, it's critical that we try to understand why this happened. We need to acknowledge that every single person craves a sense of belonging, even if they find that belonging in a community that is not good for them, as was the case here. And 2, Melee has become increasingly more draconian. Regardless of how much of our lives that we pour into them, we should not rely on these communities to necessarily do the right thing, especially as they continue to tilt towards corruption, which is plainly what's happening. TOs need to take a long, hard look at how we got here, and work towards making substantial cultural changes if they want their grassroots community to survive. Rest in peace, hacks. We're going to miss you.
Hey guys, I'm Krebs. I've hosted tournaments offline and online since 2012, so I have a lot of experience dealing with banned players, banned lists, and even unbanning players. Hax's case was definitely more of a borderline case that I think should have been revisited every single year. What I personally was an advocate for was having one region that would allow Hax and host weeklies and monthlies and regionals that would allow him. And specifically a region that came to mind was a region like Dallas with FX Game Exchange, formerly known as Tourney Locator. All it would have taken is one region allowing Hax, letting him prove with time and good behavior that he was ready to join the general community again. I genuinely think this would have saved his life. I was even close to hosting a regional for him myself, and I've been really kicking myself wishing that I had done it. I was in the talks with Technicals and Hacks about doing it. So my message is be willing to stand against the grain, whether it's yourself hosting a tournament for people or supporting people that you align with and want to support. Be an independent thinker.
Like, to come from this moral superiority, you can't say this, otherwise we're just gonna kick you out, and like we're just gonna go on Twitter and cancel you. Like, y'all need to grow up, because there are real consequences to this. You know, because that's why we all come together, is because we all love Melee. And the one guy who loved it the most is gone. Rest in peace, my boy. Take it easy.
The Smash community wants to keep up the facade that they're this all-inclusive community, but God forbid you commit wrongthink or have different beliefs due to factors like religion, then you gotta go. In order to fix things, I think there needs to be a change in leadership, unless they want to be heavily moderated by Nintendo. If these adults won't hold each other accountable, someone else aside from you and random people on the internet have to do so. And if they want to keep being grassroots, they need to stop treating tournaments like birthday parties. Hags had an insane love for Melee. Maybe if the neckbeards in power addressed the issue at hand and sucked down their pride to let Hax play a children's party game, Hax would still be here. Despite doing so much for the community he loved, he was branded as a villain because it suited their narrative. I just hope they think the end result was worth it. Rip Hax.
Now, personally, I think that there should be some checks and balances when it comes to situations like those, because I don't think the Smash community has been keeping the TOs in check. Second off, and this is just a stretch, I personally think that we should not have as many indefinite bans unless it is an emergency. Start date, finish date, leave it at that. Another thing I'd like to address is the consistency issue. We've been having a lack of consistency. Ban Leffen, and also, by the way, cheers. Rest in peace, Hax. Worth it.
Like, one big thing about the Hax situation that actually fucks me up, just the amount of people that are so willing to not see the side of someone like being pushed out of their passion with fucking zero chance of remorse of coming back. And like, I don't think people see the gravity of that. Like, that shit is really fucked up, especially when it's revolved around something that, you know, someone's making their living off of, their legitimate living. And like, people think they can just like insert their elitist ideas of what's right and wrong when someone's life is actually on the line. That's not just a debate anymore. That's real fucking life.
Maybe look into definitely a lot of new management, new people being in charge, things like that, because clearly what happened with hacks is just like it's a fucking travesty. Either you're a lot more strict with everyone, or you're a lot more lenient with everyone. Like, it's either one way or the other. Like, we can't do this fucking pussyfoot bullshit at this point. It's annoying. It's really hypocritical. So, like, that's two things right there could be done to help with improving the scene as a whole.
Rest in peace, hacks.
I'd say at the very least, I would like for repercussions to be made for specifically Leffen and the New York scene of Super Smash Bros. Melee, alongside the long list of the people that banned hacks that they are desperately trying to hide. But if there is really anything else to end off with, I just want to say rest in peace again to hacks. I still can't believe this is fucking happening. Don't let this ruin your love for fighting games. Don't let this ruin your love for Melee and Smash at large. And don't let this ruin your love for the FGC, if you are also a part of the FGC community. I'm sure we could all learn a valuable lesson about this.
1, form some sort of interdisciplinary group. This should be an outside third party. Furthermore, obviously there needs to be proper rules and procedures for banning and appealing. In like Hax's case, that was completely egregious and, in my opinion, very deliberate.
This isn't just about one person. It's about a system that failed to consider the human cost of its decisions. I would not like to excuse people's mistakes, but to challenge the way we handle them. If we truly care about community safety, that care needs to extend to everyone, not just people we feel comfortable supporting, but also people who've struggled or may have done something wrong. No one should ever feel their life is over because a group decided they didn't deserve another chance. Let Hax's memory serve as a wake-up call. Not to divide us further, but to ask harder questions, push for better systems, and to build a scene that heals rather than harms.
In all of this, where were his friends? The friends that he had spent countless years with. His supposed friends either ignored him, treated him like Voldemort, or actively contributed to the abuse and harassment that he faced on Twitter. To anyone trying to pretend that they didn't see this outcome coming for years, they're clearly just lying to you. We all saw him on X, slowly but surely deteriorating after years and years of being ignored. We have tried on countless occasions to try and talk to these people, and they can't even admit what they did was wrong. My final words are these. Sorry. Sorry to Hax that he had to die for anything to happen, and sorry to his mom. This didn't have to happen. Thanks to Tech for letting me speak, and RIP Hax.
It happened with Etika too, where the internet continues to act without remorse towards people who are crying for help in a veiled way. And what do people do? They continue to troll, they continue to pick at them, they continue to disregard them, spread rumors about them to other people so that people could like disconnect from them, not associate with them. Remember, we're humans, right? We thrive off connection. He literally passed away from extreme depression, from extreme sadness, from just crying and being sad and feeling left out. Imagine leaving the planet that way, bro. That's so depressing. That's so sad. So many people that I thought didn't care about me checked in. Whenever there's death, that's when people remember, oh wait, we're all humans and we should like check in on each other. We should make sure everybody's good. And it sucks because after a decent amount of time passes, people revert to the way they are. They revert to showing disregard for human life again. And then the cycle continues. I just want to say rest in peace to Hax. A very good person, good friend of mine for a long time. And it sucks to know that his parents have to bury him. With that said, thanks everybody for listening, man.